I got a broker. Nice. How you doing, man? All right. Present. Am I? So, all right. Yo. All right, friends. We'll get started soon. Can I trust you to be my stream checker?
Yep.
Oh God, fuck that shit, man. Ugh. It's fucking me, man. Gross ass voice.
You want what? Okay. Guys. What's wrong with pizza? No, I have no idea what you just said.
What's wrong with you? I got no idea what you're talking about. To me. Alright. Alright. So Bob is gonna be a little late today.
I was just curious. Yeah, I'm curious. I didn't want anything. What are you selling?
I'm not selling anything.
Weed, bro.
We brownies?
I already got
She
it.
says anybody wants food before class, she'll pick it up.
Whoa.
You should make an app for that.
And then- No.
Oh, you can call it Food Runner, and what they do is people just send you. Yeah, but
No, but like
friend mates.
Is that your final project?
Which is why no, she's not gonna. She's doing it for free. She just needs a way to manage a food order.
The final project.
It's not a good business, but it's a great app.
Hey.
Are we charging people?
I mean, people said that about Facebook. It's not a good business, but it's great.
Except Facebook is a great business and an okay app. That's
I'm
what
in the
it
beginning.
is. To be fair though, Facebook's the only one who figured out is the only social media like website that figured out how to make actual like profit. The Snap is going down right now, right? Like MySpace is dead, Friendster is dead, but Instagram is part of Facebook.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
They either buy them or they exactly.
How is it?
Buy or
How is it that they're not releasing all that data?
Huh?
I mean, they have so much data.
Yeah, but it's like what kind of data, right? Is the problem because like with Snapchat, right? Like what can you do? Like I think the best thing you could do with Snapchat is just get like commercials in front of eyes, but people aren't gonna watch it.
There are those sponsored things. I read them. Like I read Cosmos every day.
Nah, I think.
But that's the only thing they got.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they don't.
I want my story to save, bro. I want to go back and see it.
You can download it. There's no problem.
Yeah, no, I know a lot of people who like Snap all the time. I mean, but here's the thing, like I only know when I see them because they don't add me to the Snapchats anymore because I don't reply. So it's like I know, and what they tell me is that because it doesn't save on their phone, it doesn't take up space. Because like sometimes they don't want to take a picture of like for example, if I took a picture, this is like no offense, this is fucking stupid. But it might be something to be like, oh LOL, my students are fat, you know what I mean? And then I send it over.
That's so mean.
No, not like fat, but like you guys eat a lot. But like like whatever.
Hey, I listen to your Bonanza sometimes. Pretty good.
Oh really? Cool.
Yeah,
I'm glad
I
you like
recognize your voice.
it. Really?
Yeah.
Awesome. But anyway, so the idea is that but like just aside from that, I can't see any good use case. I'd rather put it up on like Instagram and just be like, oh, so like I can look back 5 years later. Oh, I remember the time when those fat asses ate all the chicken. You know. Obviously.
That's a saving now, guys. Come on.
I mean, guys, if you're fat ass, I'm like.
They see everything you do. Looking at your wait.
This is all we got. I guess we can get started.
They can use that memory thing. But I just read it.
No, it wasn't. It just ended up being used that way. What else?
That's not new innovation.
Because Facebook is the model. They went to Snapchat and let me buy you. They were like, no. All right.
You sleep with the fishes.
True.
Instagram is straight up copying what Snapchat does.
That's okay because
And they
and that's the point because it's just like anyone can copy anybody, right?
Yeah.
How is they pull WhatsApp?
How
They
it
did.
works in the market?
Huh?
They have some kind of like unique feature, so the money.
No, there's no such thing as
You
a
replicate
unique
it while
feature,
something
man.
Done.
Okay.
Right,
So
because
you can do anything you want.
like
You can just copy.
any feature can be replicated.
Okay, so you
quite
can just
literally.
copy like Uber, and you can name it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. They might come after you anyway just because they're mad and they have enough like money to sue you, but they probably wouldn't win if you can actually like fight the case. Right? Unless they like trademark specific things, but you can't trademark things because like trademarking software is one of the hardest things. Yo, can you guys turn this on? Trademarking software is one of the hardest things you can do, which is good because or like patenting software because if you're allowed to do that, then the opposite becomes true, and that's bad
I mean,
too,
you
right?
can't do anything at a point. You're gonna not be able to do anything.
Which is why-
If they copied the story thing and called it something else, I don't think.
Yeah, even
that's legal, actually.
Medium has stories.
Yeah. But I
Why do you need stories in Medium? It's like I don't get it.
I keep reading that a lot of the software companies are just abandoning the whole copyright thing now because
There's no
it's more
point.
like, why would you build it and get it out there and
Business model. That's how you win, right? Through like marketing and all the other stuff. The stuff I'm bad at.
True, but then that's the price point.
What's up?
copyright
It's
is
a price point too. Put it out there.
Yeah.
See how much that's worth.
Yeah.
Yeah, like at my company, like we charge random because like we don't know what the correct price point is. So for some people, we're like, oh, $4. Some people we say like 12, and then we just see what they say. Sorry, go ahead.
Awesome. Hi, everybody.
Hello.
How's everyone doing?
Great.
Good? Great. Yes, even fake it till you fake it. Anyway,
Fake it till you make it.
or
Stay my
not.
life.
I mean, this is how I live my life. So I wanted to make a couple of announcements. So on June 8th, it's a Thursday from 6:30 until 7:30, I'm going to have an alumni panel. So it's kind of like alumni panel and meet and mingle. So we'll have it in the back room. It's going to be your class, Cody's class, basically Will's class. Yes, it's multiplying. It's growing. So it's
His
gonna,
class is multiplying.
the event was supposed to be just for your class, and that is multiplying.
Understood.
So so that class, and so basically 3 part-time WDIs plus a full-time WDI. So that'll be a great opportunity on multiple levels. One, for you to meet all of them, and I expect everybody to find each other on LinkedIn afterwards, and like you're gonna basically triple your network in 1 hour. And then also obviously the alumni panel. I have 3 alumni booked. They are from different cohorts. They're all from the web development intensive course. From different cohorts in different years. They have gone to different career pathways, and so I'll have a software engineer, a designer, and a content analyst. So I'm waiting for one other person to get back to me, who might be a more junior developer. But anyway, the point is that we'll have these folks for a half an hour to do a Q&A. And then about 20 minutes, I'll have food, like snacks or pizza or something. I'll have some type of food.
What kind of pizza?
Who cares who the alumni? It's like, where's the food at? Yeah. No, I'll send you guys a message to direct message me. If you have any food restrictions, you could just direct message me, and so if it's for pizza, like I can do gluten-free, kosher, and like put vegetables on it or whatever, right? Okay. So this will happen in a month. So we'll talk about it. So you could direct message me. So we'll do
What
that for
time's it
20
gonna be?
minutes.
Sorry, I apologize.
6:30. Oh, I didn't put it. It's at 6:30 to 7:30.
Gotcha.
Okay.
I guess I'll be there too.
Yeah. 6:30, 7:30, and then you'll go to class. There's not going to be any alcohol because you guys need to come back to class. So we'll do that another time. So anyway, so that's June 8th. Saturday, June 10th is Spotify Hackathon. So the topic is hip hop, and I put it in the New York City channel.
I saw it on the NYC channel. I didn't see it on ours, but that's okay. I was just gonna tell them about it.
Okay. So also, but they have access to those channels
They
too,
do.
right?
Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, so there's a hackathon. It's from noon until I think 8 or 10. It's like basically all day. They serve lunch, and then they also do dinner. And so the setup is you arrive. They'll have speakers, I think 3 speakers or so, to talk about their world in hip hop and tech. And then afterwards, they usually ask, like, this is my problem, how would you solve it with using technology? And that's where the hackathon goes. And then people organically start moving into groups. And there's a lot of brainstorming and prototyping and things like that go on the majority of the time. And then there's like the developing part. And then at the end is the presentation. So each group will present.
Only 10 hours?
Wow.
Yeah, seems a little long, right?
So then there's like some type of presentation at the end of wherever your group got. Now, you don't have to stay for the whole entire time. You can, leave. It is a long time, but you can leave whenever you want. I usually arrive around 1 and stay for a few hours. So I like to have all of the students arrive around that time so we can descend on Spotify and take over and dominate. But yeah, if you get there at 1 o'clock, that'd be cool.
What time does it actually start?
At 12. So that's 12. And then Hip Hop Spotify, that's going on. So you have to RSVP. You can look in the Slack channel, go to like the New York City Slack channel.
I'll just send him a link right now.
And he'll send you the link. And that. Also, I sent you guys the tech resources.
Yeah, you put it on the
PDF,
general channel.
So look at that. Homework, I just re-slacked it. Please do that. It's more of a reflective activity. Take time to do it. And then also there are 5 people. 1, 2, 3, 4 of those people who I have not met with. They're in class right now. I might be looking around at you. Please Slack me and set up a meeting. And if you don't want to have a meeting, just Slack me anyway. So I stop bringing it up. So you can find me. I think what am I? Crystal Career Services? Oh no, Career with Crystal. You'll find me. All right, that's it. I hope to see you guys at the event. And you have a question?
Yes. You sent, I don't know if in Slack you wrote, are we supposed to have like another meeting with you again?
For people who I've not met yet, and there are like about 5 people who I haven't met yet.
It's for those people.
It's for those people. Yeah. I should have been more clear. Good. Thank you for asking. You're welcome to set up another meeting with me if you want.
Nah.
But we will have other meetings coming up. Okay. That's it.
Cool.
All right.
Thank you very
Have
much.
a wonderful class, guys.
Thank you.
All right, let's get started, my friends. Whew.
What?
For the people who have not set up that meeting, if you are planning on trying to make a career switch, it might not be a bad idea to go do that, just because, like, this way she keeps you in mind if you see the job, job opening or something like that. Yeah, I don't really know about that Spotify
Yeah,
hackathon.
yeah, I was gonna say, what do you think about this?
I mean, I know I had a coworker who used to go to them because he liked Spotify, I guess. I've never been, so I don't know. I could ask around to find out. I feel like it's not going to be a hardcore hackathon, but it might still not hurt to go anyways.
10 hours? Like, that's a little bit.
Yeah, 10 hours for a hackathon, like, that makes me think that people are going to be like, oh, here's a design we drew. LOL. Like, fuck that bullshit. You know what I mean? It's not like the real ones are like at least like 18 hours, or sometimes they're like 24-hour things. What's up? Yeah, and all those. Well, I mean, the DEF CON might be hardcore, but like there's a whole bunch of them that come up, and in those you actually go from scratch to a working app that you show. What's up? Yeah, so yeah, it's like an entire weekend, which is incidentally why I could never ever do them, because I always have a class on Saturday or on a Sunday.
So, like, you stay there? Like,
Yeah, if you, I mean, like, you don't have to. You can go home if you want, but like,
It's 35.
come on, yeah.
Wait, how do you find those?
That's how I code, right? So it's like whatever, huh?
How do you find those, whatever you're talking about?
Just if you just Google, like, upcoming hackathons NYC, you'll find a whole bunch of them.
Oh, is that what it's called? I'm sorry, I didn't.
Yeah.
This is the first time I'm.
Oh no, that's for sure. I mean, like, that's my fault. I probably should have brought it up sooner. But I guess like you guys are just now, I think, competent enough to like something useful. So there's also that. But I mean, actually, I'll keep an eye out for them. If a legit one comes up, I'll tell you guys about it. It might be worth going and checking out. But I also feel like a lot of them are just like random people building really crappy things. But at the same time, it doesn't hurt to go, because like it does, like, especially if you win one, because like a lot of the time, like, not the Spotify one, but a lot of the time it'll be like a competition actually, and there'll be judges and they'll pick one. And if you win, like, you either get like a small prize, or the company that sponsors it might like bring you in or something, and that could always be good. I know, like, my wife, she won one, and she was hoping to turn that into a job offer, but like I say, we're looking for like AI people only, so it didn't work out. But like, she won. She got a skateboard or some shit, which, like, whatever. And then she went. Right, that's the thing. It's like, it's for like kids almost. But then she went there and she got a tour of the place and all that, and she made like one solid like a person who could like like she could use and whatnot. So, what's up?
I was told, like, if you are coding,
I think that's kind of bullshit. I mean, it depends. I think it depends, honestly, because if you're just coding with like a bunch of other people and you're all just running around in circles, like, what's that gonna do, right? I think you need to know a little bit. Like, I think, like, when you're towards the end of your sort of boot camp sense, because you kind of like know what's going on. Typically, like, you won't go alone, and so that makes sense. And it's a good like confidence booster too, I think, especially if you're like, oh shit, I was able to like make this thing from scratch. But I think I don't know if it's better than a class. That's kind of crazy. Yeah. Sorry? Oh, I don't think that's true. If you make something cool, you just put it. But anyway, I'll keep an eye out, and you guys too. If you see one, I'll share it. If I'm free, I'll come through too. Although I probably won't team up with you guys, so sorry. What?
I won't team up with us?
No, I might help you out here and there, but I will. Yeah, yeah. If I'm going, then I'm going to win. All right, and you guys are all against me, so. Yeah. And also, I'd probably go. I mean, if we do that, I'm going with my wife, and so we're gonna kick everyone's ass. What's gonna happen? Well, I mean, she's won like 2 of them. It's pretty cool. Yeah, I've never done one, so I don't know. I've won all 0. Yeah, what's up?
You need to bring your wife here.
Yeah, can
You
you
need to
bring
shit on
her?
your life, because I need somebody to shit on you. Like, I need to see this.
Oh, we need someone to shit on me.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
I'm dead serious.
Jeez, man, the hate is real. All right. What's up? You said?
You have Luau open. Did you make any
I made it so that, oh yeah, I have one more. It goes full screen now. I don't know if I showed you guys this, did I? Oh yeah, so it does this, but also, wait for it. Oh no, that's not it. I had one more, hold up. Let me see if it's still on, it might be off. Oh yeah, right there, boom. It goes like full screen now, that's it. Yeah, it's a work in progress. This is the longest project I've ever worked on, but anyway. So guys, what's up? Yeah. And also to like practice some shit and like play around and all that. All right, guys. So if you go to talk.website and you please clone this repo. So the game plan for today, before we jump into React, because I think when you get into React, there's one pitfall that's very easy to fall into. So I kind of want to show you guys the entire process, and then I want us to like jump into React, and it becomes just like, oh, here's a framework that we can use to help facilitate the ideas that we've been talking about for the past week and a half. Okay, so that's my game plan. So today I kind of want to again just show you why Flux is useful. That's like our first goal, and also just kind of continue to review all the stuff that we've been doing, and then on Sunday I want to give you guys some practice and some shit like that. Okay. So if you please clone. I feel like half the class is not here. Like, where the fuck is everyone? Yeah, there you go. Finally, man, come on. All right. So, so I have the project already, already and running. The game plan is this. I want us to now, today, make a to-do list, right? However, the catch is this. The to-do list must be built in the data specific or the data first way that we created our Yahoo weather clone, except, as you guys can probably tell, there's no real data source, right? So one question is, okay, where does this information come from, right? That's one. And then two is that I feel like the Yahoo app was a good start, but it's still not very interactive, right? Because you load and you get some information and you're done. Whereas the to-do list, although it's kind of lame, it's very interactive because there's a bunch of interactions that the user can do, right? For example, the user can add a new item, the user can mark an item as complete, the user can close or cancel or remove an item, and so on and so forth, right? And so I think that in order to understand Flux, which we're going to talk about soon, it becomes very important to be able to work on something a little bit more interactive, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to start off by creating the to-do list app in the same way that we've built the other stuff, right? In the old way. And when I say old way, I mean like what we talked about on Tuesday, right? Because I also want it to be kind of a way to just reinforce, right? So we're going to do it like data first, all that stuff. And then and as you'll see, we're going to quickly run into a problem. And that's when Flux comes in, right? So my hope is by the end of the first half of class, like 8:30, 8:45-ish, we're like, oh fuck, here's our problem, hopefully earlier. And then in the last half, we'll talk about how can Flux, like first of all, what is Flux? How can it actually help us solve this problem? And we can start to either implement Flux, or we can just talk about it on like here's the abstract, here's how Flux works, here's how it can maybe help solve our problem, and then on Sunday we can go ahead and do a deep dive. Is that fair? Is that good? No, before I go on, does anyone have any questions on stuff? Like, I know some people are probably still a bit like, about the constructor pattern and things like that. I think as far as that goes, the more you see it, hopefully the more it'll make sense. And like, if let's say by next week it doesn't, let me know, and I can put together another like a Medium article or something where I just do like, I go really deep into each thing and talk about it, or I can do it anyways, right?
Just all over the place.
Do the constructor stuff?
Yeah. Just because we have like so many different.
Yeah, because that's fair.
One thing about the people that we always usually just did call the new update. Just maybe explain from the beginning how to set it up one more time.
Oh, that's what exactly we're gonna do here. Okay. So right, and that was one of the reasons why I wanted to start from like a project from scratch so we can talk about that. And I think like even showing it twice isn't gonna help, right?
Yeah.
Because like technically you can still go back to that first like class like 2 weeks ago that we did and see it. I think the trick is to keep doing it, right?
Are we going right into ES6 or are we still gonna do ES5?
ES6. Oh yeah, no. Now that we know ES6, there's no going back. Like there's no reason, right, to go back to ES5 and that BS. And I think that ES6 is not the hard part here, right? Like if anything, ES6 makes things easier. I think what's hard is one, the concept of like, okay, data first, because it's a very different way of how we've been thinking about the DOM. And then two is all this constructor shit, right? Was that fair? And I think that the first time it was convoluted because one, I had to first show you why the constructor pattern is useful. So I couldn't just like be like, oh, LOL, here's how it works. Like remember, we created the factory, then we talked about what was wrong with the factory, and then we created the constructor pattern, and we're like, oh, here, the use case really is the fact that you can extend it easily, right? And I think we saw that on Tuesday, right, where we were able to make like 4 different like versions of the same base component. And I think that's really that's why the constructor pattern is useful, right? And again, like you can get by without really understanding how that works. I just think that, especially like at the position you guys are, where you're trying to get a gig, like you want to make sure you know the ins and outs of it, right? But I could have just been like, oh, here's a class, here's how you extend, and you're done, right? So that's one thing. And then the other part of it is that once we do Flux, I don't really have like much else, I think, in terms of, I mean, obviously React, right? But I don't think I really want to do Redux. If anyone really wants me to talk about it, I can. I think it's fucking insane, and I'm not a fan of it. But I think the only other thing I want to talk about is how to deploy an app, and I think we're good. And on that note, this weekend is when your final project ideas are due. If you're not like after that, you can't change it. And I think if you don't come up with one, I'll just come up with one for you. But you don't want that, I think, right? Because I'll just make you do shit that I want built. What's up?
We don't need those problems.
Yeah, exactly. So, but the idea is, again, if you're not sure, like ping me, maybe talk to me during a break or something, and I can stick around today and brainstorm, like whatever. Cool. All right. So I'm gonna go ahead and clone this. I actually already cloned it, so it's here. It's cloned. Okay. What's the first thing that we do always? Yep. Do I go into JS, right? I kind of wish there was a way to. I'm trying to think of a way to bring back in the Express and all that shit. I just can't think of a good one because I feel like they're just so like two like different things. But what I might do, assuming if I have enough time, is this weekend or at some point like next week, before we do the Slack thing, which is going to be, our Slack clone is going to be in React, right? But I think that I might go ahead and implement the Instagram clone, and we can rebuild the front end of it, but through this, just to kind of like show you that, like with Flux and all that, it might be useful. So let me know, or if you have anything else that you want to build, just like kind of like a full-on project that we do in class, so it won't be due or anything, just to kind of see how the whole thing works, okay? Anyway, all right, so I have Git cloned it. If you can guess, I grabbed it from our old project, so how would I start my config? Yep, npm run wash, right? Yeah, because it's all on Webpack. And that's the other thing, right? Unless you need a specific like build configuration, there's no reason to rewrite your Webpack. Just copy and paste it, right? There's like no like reason that you have to rewrite it from scratch or any of that. Okay, great. So Webpack is on. Where am I? Let's open up. Let's do this Flux. Bless you.
Bless you. Thank you.
To sneeze? Me too, I guess.
No.
What the fuck, Martin? Jeez, man.
We should ask Paul about that.
Yo, he goes home and he
Someone
cries.
read it.
I sneezed. No one said bless you today.
No, Paul like won't say it anymore. Stupid thing to say.
And then the cat, like, he's like, it's all right, Martin. If I could talk, I'd say bless you. All right, here we are. So I just built a quick little because I just wanted to make it look okay. So I switched it out for, a semantic UI, okay? So let's talk about this, right? And again, I want this to be very much, a class thing. So I want you guys to kind of tell me what to do. And obviously I'm going to tell you, if you're wrong or something. But, the idea is this, right? We want to build a to-do list application, okay? So what does that entail?
Inputs.
Okay, one input really, right?
Yeah.
And what will that input do? Okay, so suppose we don't use an API at all, right? This is all enclosed, right? So when I type something into the input and I hit enter or go or add, what should happen? Well, no API stuff, right? So yes.
So is the value of what was typed.
Right. Let me just store the value of what was typed, but I want you to hold that thought for 2 seconds, and I want you guys to tell me, if it did post, what would be the purpose of posting? To save it to a DB or something, right? Now, if we just save it without posting or anything like that, what would that do? What is the implication? If I just save it, fresh, it's gone, right? Exactly. So that's important, to note, right? It would be stored in memory only, browser memory or JavaScript, like runtime. Now, is there any way to save it to the browser? We use local storage, right? So, okay, good. So that's good, right? So the idea is if we were to do a post request somewhere, and why post? Why not get? Get will read a post according to the RESTful API is to create a row in a DB somewhere, right? But anyway, we don't have to care about that. We're trying to keep it as simple as possible. And ideally, we'd want to build it so that in the future, if we wanted to add a local storage, an Express API, some other shit, who cares? We could do it without touching the UI or the other pieces, right? So again, separation of concerns. Now, Randy said we want to store it into a value. Now, what does that mean, storing it into a value? What kind of value, first of all? What's up? A variable, right? Okay, now what would the data type of that variable be?
Object.
Okay, someone said string, someone said object. So the person who said string, is that you, John?
Yeah.
Okay. Why string? Because we're inputting something, right? So that's going to be the type. Now, when you said object, what do you mean? Why object?
I don't know. I was kind of guessing.
Oh, well, I mean, so it just complete random? Okay.
Well, that's what we've been using this entire time.
Constructor, basically.
Yeah.
Okay, well, all right. So, I'm going to make you guys tell me why for every single answer, right? So why a constructor? Why do I need to construct it? What's the use case of a constructor? I don't give a, you said constructor. Help me. What's the purpose of a constructor? Why do we ever need to build a constructor?
It's to build whatever we're building, basically. Whether we use the example of furniture.
So it's to build different instances, though,
Yes.
right? So the whole idea is if you're gonna build a furniture class, it's probably because you're building a interior decoration web page or app where you're gonna need to store chair and what it means to be a chair and so forth, right? If you're gonna build a constructor for a weather item UI, it's probably because you're gonna need more than one because you have multiple days worth of weather data. Right. Well, you can make, and so here's the thing, there's no right answer here. I'm just trying to ask why to everybody to see what you guys are thinking and how you're thinking. The idea is if you do make a constructor for your to-do list, the thing you want to store, what would that mean?
I mean,
You can have more than one, right?
Yeah.
Is that fair?
One more constructor.
No, one constructor, more than one instance, each instance representing a to-do list item itself, right? Is that fair?
each instance representing.
Yeah,
this item.
so you can say, let me create an object that describes what it means to be a to-do list item, right? So let's explore that for 2 seconds. I wasn't even thinking about going this route, but since you brought it up, right? What kind of properties would this to-do list item have? What's up? Yeah, the date created, what to do, and maybe a date due. right? Like when it's due, and maybe even like is completed. You see that? All right. So now you guys got me going. We're gonna use this, and I wasn't even I was gonna just do a string, man. But all right. So now they brought it up. Let's do a constructor, right? Let's do class to-do list item. All right. Now in here, in the constructor, what do we need really? Yep. Like what to do, LOL, right? Now, do we? I mean, and maybe like a due date or something, right? But that's really it. And then, what kind of properties? As you said, the properties would be what? Good shit. Now here, this dot do.
I totally forgot I left my stuff here.
Is that it?
Yeah, I totally forgot.
Oh, okay. That's cool. All right. You know, and anything else?
This date.
Oh, word. And what kind of thing would this be? This not complete would be what? What kind of data type would it be? Exactly. And initially it'll be? No, false.
Yeah.
Right. All right. Since you brought it up, I got one more question for you. Can you think of one function we can add to the prototype of this guy? Huh? I want to add, can you think of a property of this to-do list item that would have to be on the prototype? These are all bound to the instance, right? So every instance of our to-do list item would have its own this.do. Right? One could be like wake up, the other one could be like drank, and then this.complete will be false for both, and so forth. Jamie? No. Boom, is done. Well, no. Not is done, but maybe. Right, or mark complete. And what would mark complete do?
If it's toggle that boolean.
Toggle the boolean, right? Or specifically actually invalidated, right? So, or validated. This not complete equals true, always. Right? Yeah. And do you guys see why that would be on the prototype? They all have the ability to do that thing. You see that? So now, like, does that help you kind of understand prototypes a little bit better? Like, you see that we have like 15 things that we want to do, but they all retain the ability to be completed, right? And for that reason, we want to put it on the prototype so that we only create it once instead of 15 times over. But the this.do has to be created 15 times because we have 15 different things.
Like an extended type of thing?
What?
What we were just talking about.
No, that would be the prototype itself.
Todd, quick question.
Sure.
Going back to the function, you said we would need a validate function, right? Validate
For which function? Sorry.
for the complete.
Oh, no, I meant just like this complete should be set to true always in the mark done. I'm not sure. Like, did I talk about validate? Sorry, I don't remember.
That's what you said. You just said.
Did I just
you
say that?
Create a function that validates with this.
Oh, I said invalidate. Right. But then what I meant set it to true is what I meant.
Okay.
Like you wanna have something like mark done. And what do you think that'll do? This dot complete equals to true.
Oh, okay. I see now.
Right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Right? And again, like you don't want to make this over and over again for all 15 of you or 15,000 things you have to do. You want to make it once and call it, right? Now, as far as the extends goes, you only want to extend if you have a new type of to do. Like instead of like a chore, it's like a life goal or some shit. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like it's hard to kind of explain it because I can't think of this being extended in any way, but I can see some value of it being a prototype. Fair? Now here's a question. What I was really trying to get at is, are you gonna have one item to do or a bunch of them? And they will all be an instance of the to-do list item, right? So how would I store a bunch of variables that are the same type, more or less? An array. So what I was really going for was that, like, I wasn't even here yet. I was thinking, like, okay, in terms of the types of data that you would need to store in your app, quote unquote, would be really just one thing, right? Which is an array of things you have to do, right? Okay. And so, like, the point I was trying to make there was, if you remember when we were doing the forecast, what was the data that we had to like take and like draw like UI components out of? Yeah, it was JSON. That was what though, really? The weather, right? Like information about the weather in a particular place, right? The equivalent in our to-do list app would be an array of to list items. Is that clear? Does that make sense? Oz. Okay. Any questions on this so far? Lisa?
No, I'm just,
Cold?
no, I'm,
Oh, you're just okay.
everybody's dying there.
Oh, understood. Okay. It's okay. What doesn't kill you will make you stronger. Now that being said,
Just help your immune system.
there you go. That's what it is. So okay. So now my next question is this, right? The first thing you ask yourself when you're building like a UI component or like a data-driven app or whatnot is, what kind of data do I have to store? Okay. And ultimately, so I'm gonna make a bunch of points that I hope to loop back to Flux. So just bear with me here. Like you don't have to do it this way, but I think it makes sense. If you have an app that needs to display some data, the first thing you have to do is you have to say, okay, I need to know what kind of data I need, right? Fair?
Why?
Well, because if you don't know what kind of data you have, how do you know what you're gonna draw? You see what I mean? And so when I say what kind of data, I mean like, okay, do I need an array of to-dos? Do I need an array of weather forecasts? And if that's the case, what kind of properties will be in that weather forecast and so forth, right? There he is, the prodigal son.
Yeah, you saw fucking Iron Man out there?
What?
The guy with the...
He's a brolic?
Yeah, I was like, what the fuck?
Oh, that dude over there?
I poked my eye out with that thing.
This guy?
Yeah.
I mean, his back doesn't look so all that. I mean,
It's a decent back. Yeah,
anyway. Yeah, I wouldn't call him Iron Man, but whatever. Anyway, so let's keep going. So the idea is we need to know what kind of data, right? So so can we all agree we need an array of to-do list items which we prematurely, which I think is great, have called what? To-do list items, right? Okay, perfect. So let's talk about this. So I'm going to start by saving some stuff, right? So we need like a const to-dos equals to empty, and they will be to-do list items. Or you know what? Can we call them this? Okay, cool. Hey, why are they capitalized again? Because it's a constructor, right? Okay, good. All right. Now, beyond that, let's talk about the components that we're gonna need. We're making a to-do list, right? So we know that the to-do list looks like this, right? You got a little thing here with a probably like a plus. So you click it, it goes okay, and then you actually have the things that you need to do, right? Is that fair? Now my question to you is, what's up? All right. What's up?
Yeah.
Is that better? Guys, it's just a marker, man. Like,
It's not just a marker.
it's the way of life. All right. So my question now is this, right? So what kind of components, like UI components, do you think we'll need? So again, we're going back to the concept that when we were doing the 5-day or like 8-day like forecast, we had one component which was the weather item that we replicated 5 times, right? In this case, what components do we need? How many different types do we need, and so forth? So any thoughts on there? What kind of components would we need? So remember, the weather item was a component where we passed in some data, and its job was only to do what? Draw the data, and then if we wanted to change the way it looks or some shit, right? Like the
So technically, we don't. Well,
Like a container.
yeah, like we'll need more constructors, right? Right, because the weather item was a constructor, so we could redraw it like 5-8 times, right?
Okay.
And then like remember we created the weather forecast, which was a constructor that contained 5 forecast items or 5 weather items, and then we made that twice, right? So if we do this right, we should theoretically be able to make like 2 or 5 or 8 different like lists, right? So my question is, we now know what kind of data that we need, right? We need one array which contains instances of the list item constructor that we will create. But now we have to talk about the components which will actually show the user this this information. And my question is, okay, that's great, but how do we how many components should they be? Should it be 1 constructor, 2, 5? You tell me. So let's just discuss that. And what criteria would you use? And this is me asking for the first time, because the last time I just told you. what criteria would you use to determine what makes a component a component? Like, does that question make sense?
Yeah, like what? I guess when we make a constructor out of it.
Yeah, like what makes a, so like why did we decide to make a weather item? Like what was, why did we do that? Yeah, because we had a bunch of data that looked the same, right? And each item in the array represented a forecast, right? For a place. You see that? So so based on that, can you generalize for me and tell me what might be a good criteria, Jamie? What's up? Oh, in this case would be each item would be its own component, right? In fact, it would be one constructor, like list item component or some shit. Does that make sense? Like, do you see that? Yeah. What is Jamie?
You have the ability to create multiple lists.
Once we do it right, yes. If we
So like the info would have its own maybe for like each list.
the info.
No, like each input. Would you have one constructor for the input?
Oh, so you're saying, okay. So what Jamie's saying is make this an input, right? And that input could have its own list and you can have a whole bunch of those, right? So that's fair. And I think that's a good way to do it. But I'm trying to make a point, so I'm not gonna go that route. But regardless, I think that you're right that each thing in our to-do array needs to have a component, right? You pass it in, so the data for this component would be what? Your list item? Right? Like, you guys see that, right? It's like, again, and if you can't remember what the fuck we did Tuesday, that means you had to look like you should go back and rewatch that.
I can't remember this shit. I don't know.
I don't know.
Words just
So,
going
yeah,
around to
there's a lot of jargon.
Okay, so let's talk about that, all right? Like, what kind of words?
Component. I
Component.
don't
Yeah.
understand what I'm not following like what you mean.
Okay, all right.
Component, I think I'm assuming is something on the page.
All right, so let's go back to the old project then. Take a look at that.
I don't know, maybe it's
Talk is so
maybe I
sad.
would need to see it in order for it to click.
Yeah, talk is so sad and disappointing.
I'm disappointed. I'm not sad, but I am disappointed.
That's not what a component is, but I just can't explain it.
All right, yeah. So here, we'll take a look at it right now. All right. Probably this one. All right. So I'm gonna open this guy up and let's take a look at what this looks like. All right.
Like by component, do you mean the root? Or
No.
the root
Hold
we
on.
created, or
Let me see. Let me just see why the fuck this is loading.
the stuff inside?
Then we created the root so that we could manipulate
All right. Hold on.
that one area.
Yeah.
And then the whole thing, the whole box.
That's the root.
But that's not what I mean.
That's not how I'm gonna correlate it and explain it.
What it's called? I call this fucker lecture 47. All right. Fine. Do that. PM run watch. Running, bro. Come on. Mhm.
I'm ready. You're worried about the root, but, go fuck yourself. Go find me.
Yeah, Brittany, you gonna have some
It's kind of big, bro.
See,
Yeah, that's the only reason I'm going.
exactly.
Black hair.
Clear. Yo, load, bro. Come on. All right, guys. All right. So take a. I don't even know what the fuck. It doesn't matter. So if you look at this thing right here, right?
Right.
This one thing, this card, it's got a whole bunch of things, right? It's got, the temperature, the type of weather, and the picture, right? So this card represents one item in this list. Wait for it. So that card will specifically represent like this one guy. A component is a UI or what it could be. It doesn't matter. Like it doesn't make a difference. But it represents. It's the UI representation of that data, of that particular piece of data, right? So the idea is if you have an array of them, you can like repeat yourself, right? So do you see where the constructor pattern comes into play? Because you have multiple instances of the same type of data that you need to draw in a certain way. That's a component, right? And so that's important. So I thought that was well, like to make clear, right? So the way we do data first apps is that you don't give a shit about what's on the DOM or what's in your HTML. You have some sort of data. It could be, you know, a bunch of strings in a to-do list. It could be an API call, right? It could be something you get back from your Instagram clone, like, you know, DB a query, right? Like your user or some shit, right? But that user will have a corresponding component that is responsible for drawing out all the properties that object has. Does that make sense? Is that clear? So when I say component, so let's talk about all the words that you weren't sure about, and let's make sure we have good like words and an understanding of what they mean, so that we can keep going, right? So that's what a component is. So what's next? Is that really it? All right. So it's important to note, right, that you know the idea is this. So if you're gonna like build an app that basically takes a bunch of data and like draws it out for you, so the user can interact with it, like the whole purpose of this is that you take an object or an array or a bunch of strings or some shit, you know, draw, or what's the R word that we use? Render it into your browser, and then the user will interact with each of those components, and those interactions will not update the DOM itself. It will update the data, and you should build your component so it knows how to redraw itself. So I guess if we were to have like a strict definition of what it is to be a component, I would say it would be two things, right? One, a component will always draw itself off of a piece of data. And two is that it will always know how to redraw itself if its state were to mutate or change, right? So like that, like you can think of that data that you use to draw your component as the props of it or the state of that component, and every single user interaction, right? Like when I click here, I am interacting with it, right? That interaction will not change this. It will change the state, right? Like for example, what does this do to the state? It changes like, display type from F to C. And because that state updated, we redraw, or the component knows to re-render itself to reflect the new state. And by the way, this component, meaning that I just defined, is not just for the crappy components that we made. That's basically what a React component is. Right, so I mean, like that's coming, and I'm just gonna reuse these same terms again, but that's what it is. Okay, so I'm glad you guys brought it up so that we could like kind of talk this through. So that's one thing, right? So the idea is if you're gonna build a data-driven app, you got to say, okay, what kind of data do I need to store and use and know about? Because that's what I have to feed into my components to draw it and so forth, right? Is that fair, Martin?
When do people start building web applications?
When? I feel like, to be honest, I don't know. But I think a part of it was when browsers got good enough that you could start, or I feel like it's a whole bunch of stuff. Like one might be the fact that when like phones, like smartphones came out, because now you have 3 or 4 like different ways or like different clients for the same type of data. So it no longer made sense. Right, and then 2 is probably when because like the way we're doing it right now is actually very inefficient, because you're redrawing the entire HTML every single time a piece changes. Like for example, when this happens, although you can't see it, the entire div is being redrawn. Like the root stays the same, but we do root.innerHTML, which means all the crap inside of it is flushed and redrawn, and that's actually pretty inefficient if you think about it, right? So like frameworks like React and Angular, what they do is they know that you have a piece of data that's changed, but they're specifically built to say, all right, let me find out exactly where this data lives and update those surrounding divs for you without you having to do it, right? So while we've done this, this is really just an exercise to get you guys to learn to think in that way using terms that you already know. But what React will do is React will just be a little bit smarter about how it re-renders your like your divs and shit like that.
And then my other question is like, how small can you make components? So like,
so that
how much markup do I assign to, and how many particular data types?
So the way I do it, I always do it is like I say, okay, I need this one thing, right? Like I determine like for example, in here I say, all right, data tell me what kind of component like I need, right? So in this case, because I have an array of list items, each one of these guys will be what? Now that we've talked about this, one guy in the one list item instance, right? Does that make sense? Because that list item instance will have this information which I want to draw, right? So I would start off that way, but you might eventually find that you actually need more subcomponents because things are being reused here or whatnot. So like I always build them as big as I can, and then if as I need to, I go back and I break it up and I do smaller and smaller, right? And the thing is, like, that's an important thing to note. Like, it works. Like for me, if I try to think about all the ways to optimize before I write a line of code, I'm not gonna get anywhere. So instead, I just make it work, and I'm not afraid to refactor code. I mean, yeah, it might break and stuff like that, but that's all the more reason to write code clean, because that forces you to be able to refactor like more easily.
Like plan ahead and try to do the smartest and most efficient way possible.
I mean, it depends though, right?
Sometimes you will get slowed down because you're like, how the fuck would I do this?
Well, here's the thing. It's different because you've been doing this for a while. You know what's up, right? You guys have not. So if you're trying to think about smart, like, you have to like fuck up to see, or you have to like, I feel like at your stage, you want to make things work. And I don't care. You want to make things work. Maybe if your employer says differently, okay, fine, like whatever. But you want to first be like, here is how this thing works, and then you should go back and look at your code and try to improve it. And that makes you like better at reading code. It makes you better at looking at what's being repeated, and that's what you want, because you always want to obey drive, right? And off the top of your head, if you're like, oh, here are 4 things I can do, like, go ahead and do them. But if you can't think about it, then don't spend more than 20 minutes trying to like optimize before you have a line of code to optimize, you know? So like, I see your point. And like, for example, I mean, even at work, man, like, I mean, look, with me, I think I'm fast enough that I can just make shit work. And then when I need to optimize, I can go back and optimize, right? But, you know, talking about, for example, Luau, I actually went back and I refactored a bunch of shit because I built it. I'm like, oh shit, you know, I can refactor this piece, this piece, this piece. So I said, all right, I'm going to like sit down. It took me 2.5 hours and I refactored it to make it work. And I bet you there's going to be more cases as I build it out where I see I'm going to like need to do it. And I think that if you're like working in a team, there's a bunch of people and you need coordination, of course you're going to want to do that. But if you're just working on your own, trying to get a project like to work, and you're at the point you guys are at, build first, but keep an eye out to see what you can improve. Because if you just build and not improve, that's also bad, right? But anyway, the idea here though is we just want to be able to be like, what is the simplest way to take the data that I have, which is a list of item instances, and break it out into components. And as you guys saw, as Jamie said, each one of these to do, like things to do, is a component that will display an instance of your list item, right? So far, so good. So now let's go back and let's try to like build that out. And again, we're gonna end up at a problem pretty soon, and that's what I wanna kind of talk to you guys about. So, all right. Okay to go back to that?
Yeah.
Cool, awesome.
We are doing Flux right now, right?
I'm trying to lead up to Flux and show you guys an example where Flux makes sense. Okay. Is what I'm trying to do. Instead of just telling you about it. Okay. Here, I could throw up live. I tested it the other day. I tested it a second ago. It was working, so All right, where am I? Getfo, PWD. Oopsies. What do I call this? To-do list flux. Yes. All right, am I, yeah, all right. Should say Control A, Shift S, Control A tab, Control A, Shift. Okay. I'm on the same one. That was pretty cool though. Like they both went. I didn't know how to do that. So I'm gonna go into here. I'm gonna say npm run watch. Hook me up. Cool. Actually, that was a bad idea, but all right, whatever. I'll go here. I'll say cdm source resync. Not rsync. Resync. -d. All right. I think we're good. So it should show up in the live class notes, assuming everything works. All right, cool. So we have that. Now, here's the other question. We know these have to be components. Does this have to be a component? I mean, it kind of does, right? But what would the data be in this case?
It's just the actual.
Yeah, it'll be like initially it'll have no data, and in fact, like this is sort of the piece that I want to talk about, and this is what's going to be our justification for doing Flux, which is much more abstracted and complicated. But the drawback is that what's up?
Nice.
Yeah, well, but that's what I'm trying to make a point. Like I'm trying to give you guys a reason to want to go through all that shit.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? So we'll start off with here. We'll just make like a quick empty component that just shows up, and then we can go from there. The other thing I wanted to talk about was no, I guess that's it. So let's get started. I actually want to start off by like doing this. I'll say, okay, const use equals to empty, right? That's gonna be our data. Or let's do it one other way. This app is going to have a bunch of data, right? So let's do const store equals to empty object, store dot to-dos equals to empty. Fair? Now, can you tell me why I did that? Yeah, like why can't I just do const to-dos? Nope, it has nothing to do with constructors here. In fact, this is one example where I don't want to. So what does the store represent? Or if I were to change it to, let's say, data store, how about, huh? No, actually. So the store, I was trying to get you, but it's fine if you don't. The store is going to be all the pieces of data that your app has to keep track of. Right now, we only have one. The to-dos is the data that we need to keep track of, right? It's going to be empty. As you add more things to the to-do list, it's going to grow. You guys agree? So the idea is, again, we're trying to build a data-driven to-do list, which means we need to know what kind of data that we need. We all agreed that the type of data we need is an array called to-dos. But I'm saying, what if we wanted to update our to-do list in the future to also contain the next item that is due, right? So the idea is if we were to scope it in something called a data store, and this could just be another file that we pull in, right? Where we just list all the properties that this app needs. Like, do you see how that's kind of nice? Because if we ever want to add more in the future, we can just add, like data store dot current, item, or data store dot next item due, or data store dot num items incomplete. Like, does that make sense? Is that a good use case for doing this?
I think it makes sense when I see it.
Yeah.
No, I need it to make sense now. So let's talk about it and let's try to get a buy-in. The whole point is that, and if we don't have the buy-in, we could not do it, and then like you guys will see it later. So what part of it like doesn't make sense? Let's talk about that.
What is the point of it to me?
Okay, so what's the point of it, Rich? Okay, so now define it. Like, what is it?
Data store.
Okay, so what's the point of data store, right? Okay, so here.
I'm assuming that the list items go there.
Yes, that's exactly, and you can assume that because you saw that, right?
No.
I mean,
We
data
need somewhere
store.
to put the list items, so I'm assuming they go there.
Okay, so here. What's the point of this?
We put the
list item.
So all the list items exist there, right? Inside const like to-dos. You got, yeah. Does everyone like see and agree with that? Okay, so the to-dos is a piece of data that the app needs to work. You guys agree?
Yeah.
Okay. So suppose 2 weeks later, we've already built this, okay? And instead of us being a class, we're a company, and we have a client that we built this for. And the client is like, yo, I would really like to know when my next closest to-do list item is, right? So because it's a series of tasks and they're using it as task like management, they want to know that, okay, I've got 12 things to do today. Something might be due at noon, something at 11 a.m., something like like tomorrow. And they want to know when the next closest due date is. Okay, so how would I have to update my app to deal with that?
We need to create a function. Blah, blah, blah.
Well, no, like before I even create a function, I need to create a variable that stores what the next closest task is, right? Like
Yeah, I agree.
right? Yeah, you guys see that, right? Like, we need to store it so we can tell. So
That would be outside.
it would be outside up to do. It would be const next next task index maybe because we have an array. Yeah, equals to null, right? Great. Okay, cool. But you know what? Let's keep it a simple index. All right. Now, actually no, that's better. Suppose we also want to, they also want to have an easy way to keep track of how many items have been marked completed and how many are left. So what would I need now? 2 more variables. Again, we can write functions that will compute those values for us, but the way a data-driven app works is we always store everything into a plain object, no functions, just like numbers, strings, arrays, objects, and that's it, right? So if that's the case, then what do we need here? Okay, const num completed, yeah, and num left. What's up? Oh, good thought. But okay, so let's talk about that a bit more, right? Yeah, it could be let, but I'm trying to go somewhere. So yeah, it could be fine, whatever. But here's the thing. So now imagine instead of having 4 things, we had 15 or 18 or 20 or 50, right? So there's a whole bunch of shit here, and it's gonna be a bunch of different names, right? So obviously we could put it inside of a what? A file maybe, right? Like a appdata.js, and we would do what each of these? Export them all, right? Or so like we could totally do that, and that's fine. So why not just keep them clumped together? And I think it's fine to export them all too, but it's nice to keep them clumped to say something like store. And again, this is a term in flux. I'm trying to slowly bring that up, but you can, if it makes like better, we can say
shopping store.
It feels that way, but they mean a data store. A data store, yeah. So why don't we call it app data? Is that fair? And inside of it, like we'll say, okay, initially we have like to-dos, next task index is maybe -1, num completed equals to 0, and num left equals to 0. Fair?
So before you would just destructure.
No, I mean we can still do the destructuring if we want to here, right? Like it's perfectly fine to also just put it into a new file. I just want to keep it in this way for the time being. Like do you?
I mean like that's what you were doing before. Data store, empty object, and then data store dot to do.
Oh yeah. We could do, yeah, same exact thing. That's not destruction. That's just calling it after the fact. Like destructuring is if you do. So here is what like destruction. If I did const like to do's equals to app data, that's destructuring, right? Yeah, but yeah, like the same idea. Okay. Okay, good, right? So here's all the data, quote unquote, that we're gonna need in our app. Okay, the next step is obviously we need to create our like to-do list item. So let's just do that real quick. New file, save it as list.
What did you just say, Tom?
Sorry?
Repeat what you just said.
Oh, now we need to create a constructor for our to-do list item.
Okay.
Okay. So I can go view I mean, like we don't have to do it in this way, but I just feel like it makes sense. So again, oh fuck me, man, die. All right. So my question is this, right? So we have this. It's got to be a constructor. So how do I create a constructor again? List item. Okay. And if we don't want to do the crap with the new, we do what? Export function. What? You guys remember that? List item. And what goes in here? Args. Return new with. Good. And so, what does this do again? Without us having to actually do it, right? So again, it's only nice because it's like it's like a function that will give me a constructor, right? I like there isn't anything stopping me from doing this, right? In which case I export the entire guy, right? I'm just choosing to. Is that fair? Clear to everybody. You have to put new every time, and then if you forget, then the disk scope gets fucked, and that's why we stay away from it, right?
When we're extending the
list item, then we can do it here. Yeah, exactly. But in this case, we actually have no reason to extend the list item. And so yo, Baba, I was like, yo, let's plan this out, and they were immediately like, each list item like needs to be a constructor, thus proving that they understand how constructors work. This motherfucker's like tired of some shit. That's awesome, man. I'm impressed.
Why are you mad at us?
All right.
I'm not mad at y'all. Last night they were fucking going over command lines in the other class, and I was just thinking like, wow. I remember.
Oh, because you were here yesterday, right?
Yeah, they were going over the list and PWD. I was so tired of the
Do we need a complete? Yeah. Nope. We just need this. How would I create my completed? Yep, mark completed, and it does what? Done. That's it.
Yeah, you have the function.
So yeah, if you recall, and this is fine. This is just a syntax thing, right? Yeah. What they do is, where am I? So in fact, I think this is kind of really like stupid. But what they do is this. You remember this fucker? Oh, this is the old way. I don't have it here. Hold on. In the new ES6 way, because it's annoying to write something.prototype dot equals the function, what they let you do is they let you do something like you just put the name. If it's a function, you put the name, the parens, and that's it. What's up? Yeah, it's implied. It's like syntactic sugar is the term because you don't have to write some extra stuff, which is fine. And if you wanted, like instead of doing this, like what you could do is this. You could be like complete equals to false, right? And you don't have to. In fact, that's kind of cool, actually. Not gonna lie, right? And then you do this like complete, and you're done. Yeah, but the problem here actually is that actually we can't do that because this adds it to the like what is this? This function is it being added to the instance or the prototype? The prototype, right? So this will add it to the, which means they'll all have it. But then if you update it for one, they'll update for all of them. So you don't want that, right? So tricky motherfuckers. I didn't think of that until I'm like, oh wait. That's it. This is a very, very, very simple one. Yeah. In fact, like you could just do an object, but I like that you guys thought of it, so I'm keeping it. Oh, yeah. I guess we'll need it for this, but let's keep it as simple as we can, and then we can come back and add it. Because and that's the beauty of it. It's so easy, right? We just come back and we just say, all right, this dot do, and then this dot is complete or some shit, right? But now that we have this, now we can go on to this piece. Now, can you guys tell me how this is gonna work? I'm gonna have a component for this. When I hit like enter or something, what will it do? No, we're not doing posts, remember?
No, I mean, I'm saying what I actually do, post.
Oh, it'll post it to
Yeah.
here somehow, right? But in like terms of our data, it will
Render what the value is.
it'll actually right. It'll create a new instance of list item, and then do a push to to-dos, and then somehow tell it to render. Right? Fair. Now, the idea is this. I'm gonna add one more, which is
Why did you put next task index -1?
because there is no currently there is no like next task.
Okay.
That's why. So again, the idea is in your app data or your store, if you will, you always want to put the default values for all the data that you expect. Is that fair? So by default, when you start the app, how many like to-do items do you have?
0.
0, right? Again, that might change if you were to pull in data and stuff like that. But even then, by default 0, then you do a query to a server or to like storage, and you say, oh, there's some information, okay? And the idea is, and the reason why I made this -1, if you recall, initially I had it as null, right? But I kept it -1 because you always want to keep it the same data type, right? So because next item index is going to be a number, I'd rather do -1 because if you try to get the -1 value of an array, it's undefined. You see what I mean? So it's still like there is no next.
You're saying if it's 0, it'll be like
The first item, right? So you can't do 0, so you do -1. You see what I'm saying? But then the number completed, if you have an empty array, you have not completed any. If you have an empty array, do you have any left? No, because there's nothing in the array. You see? But I'm also going to I'm going to say current to-do value equals to empty. Because again, this is the app state. So the idea is every interaction that you do should have a corresponding variable. So if you type into this guy, you're typing a string. So you want to ideally update this. You see what I'm saying? Is that fair? Okay. So our subsequent step would be to go ahead and draw out this guy. But do you want a break first? You good? Let's draw it out. All right. So more constructors, right? So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go back. First of all, bro, did you build? Yeah, okay, cool. All right. I'm going to say this. What? This. I need to be better at naming this shit. If I could know how to do it.
No, to determine Windows Word because I hate having 3, 4 open.
Yeah, it's kind of annoying.
Oh. No, he has the same thing. Don't do that. Okay.
Thanks, Rich.
Oh, that's why.
No, Visual Studio for Mac is.
There you go. Finally. PWD. All right.
It's like a trial. Like you don't get over.
I'm gonna create a new. The only reason I'm doing this is because I need to create a folder called components to put all my components in. I'm gonna do touch components, to do input, let's call it, and also components to do like item. Is that fair? Okay.
This is a little file.
Yeah, these are 2 files that are gonna contain our like renders and all that bullshit, right? Okay, great. So now let's do this. PWD. All right, cd npm run watch. Start that fucker up again. Okay. You mad, bro? All right, so far so good. Is it showing up in the live class notes? Anyone's looking at it? Yeah, solid. Okay, cool. So let's start off by creating our to-do input. Okay, so now that we know how components are made, we know they're always through the constructor pattern, right? So how would I create a class for this? What should it be called? Yeah, I like to as a general rule of thumb, and you don't have to do this, but I like to always include I like to make the name of the class be the same as the name of. of the file. Just it's easier to like search for and find and shit like that. That's why. And if I need to have like a bunch of classes, I'll just break it up. It just makes more sense to me. And then export function to do input. And again, guys, just to point out, like we could write a factory function that makes this easier. We're just not, because every time you try to make things a little bit more like automatic, the complexity and abstraction goes up, right? So we could, and if you want to try it on your own, like
Does that have to be args? Does that matter?
so it doesn't matter, right? I could be like, yeah, right.
Put dot, dot, dot.
No, you got to put at least one word, because like the dot 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 is the operator, and then arg is like the variable that holds all the things, right? Yeah. God damn it! This song stuck in my head now. Okay, all good? Now, the to-do input will take the current value, right? So what we can do is we can say, all right, current value. God damn it, I failed. How do you computer, bro? This dot value equals to current to-do value, fair? And remember, this is data driven, right? So into my input field, on every keystroke, I want to update this. Do you agree? Yeah, sure. That's also exactly how React does it. We have to do it this way because we are data driven, not UI driven, right?
Every keystroke is being updated.
We're going to update this value to be a new value, which is what's inside the input field. What's up? Yep. There you go, my friend. On key down, or I mean, like we can even do on change, right? But yeah, we can do on key up, on key down, on change. They all work sort of in the same way. Okay, cool. So, I mean, yeah, that's probably fine for now. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna say, all right, great. So we need right? Is that fair? And we should probably also do the thing where we create a this.root. Yeah. So I'll make that first, right? So I say const root equals to. Can you guys tell me how I can create a new div? Document dot what? Create element. Word. Good shit. And then I can say, all right, root dot set attribute. Actually, fuck that. We can say. What's up? No, in React, like one of the plus points of React is this is already pre-done for you. Right? Class list dot add. What was that for? I don't remember.
When you submit it, you wouldn't want to do that.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, in this case, we don't need it. I mean, like the thing is, it might be good to do it. So we'll add all the fancy shit after we like meet our problem. There's gonna be a problem here soon. I want to show the problem. I want to take a break. When we come back, we'll talk about how to solve the problem, and then it gets interesting. But yeah, like that's always good to always bring up if you think about shit like that, because again, if you were doing this like pair programming is something that they do at job interviews or at work sometimes. Like you want to bring that kind of stuff up because one, the person who's typing probably did not, or two, they'll be like, oh fuck, you're actually thinking about all the parts of it, right? So for now, we'll say JS-input. We only have one, but it's always good to add like something like unique here. Huh? Yeah, or we can just do like a random number or some shit. Only because going back to like Jamie's point, we're building this in such a way that we should be able to make like multiple instances of it in the future if we wanted to, right? So it's always good to kind of have that. I think it's good practice. Date.now times. Oh man, I'm being fancy right now. That's some crazy shit, right? You know what? I'll do this. I'll say, you see how crazy this is? I'll just say const get super random number. It's not really. Yeah. What's up? Yeah, but yeah, we're going to multiply by date dot now, so shit gets real. Yeah. Here, why don't we experiment, my friends? And this is why I love the console. I could be like, oh, LOL. See that? Shit's pretty random, my friend. Anyways, I just chose 10. Yeah, because I don't want the number to be too big, but I want to be big enough that there's enough like randomness. You know what I mean?
That wasn't a big number.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, it's what's that? What'd you say? I didn't hear that one.
That wasn't a big number.
Oh. It could be bigger. I mean, here. I don't think Baba got your joke, man. That's why he laughed to compensate. He's like, oh yeah, LOL. I should probably laugh right now. Anyway, we have fun. I'm just fucking with you, man. We can be like, all right, cool. And then, oh, I forgot one more thing, which is the container, right? Yeah. So, yeah, what's up? Yeah, I mean, it's app. I'll keep it app. In fact, I drew it here because I wanted you guys to like see what it looks like. Yeah. In fact, what I'm gonna do is this. All of this stuff, I kind of want to put like right here. Right? It makes sense. And then I can be like, all right, get fo. This one too can just go away. Yo, I think I fucked some shit up. Hold on. You close. All right, I'm good. All right, I think this should be more or less okay. Oh, one more. Not here. So I think so. If you wanted to have like I don't want this to ever go away. I don't want this to ever go away. But everything inside is like fair game.
Just keep drawing everything inside.
Yeah. You see that? In fact, I could do one more because then the idea is like. What's up? Well, I could, but then the idea is like, so I have two components, right? One component is gonna be my like UI, and then one's gonna be all the crap I have. So like these three are just a bunch of different layouts that does like the columns and stuff. So that's why. Now, if I could put it on the body, and like when we do React, that's how we're gonna do it. But in this case, like because it's kind of a pain to just like keep creating these components, whereas in React it's really easy. You know, we can actually write our CSS column structure in React, but here, like, we want to just keep it to our components.
So you want the app ID to be on the basically
right above in the column. So here, I can show it to you in this banner. Watch. With the input and the list. Yeah, exactly. So if I were to open in browser, like, check this out. Hook me up, Buttercup. So if you look here, hook me up, Buttercup. It's what my PM used to say all the fucking time. Not to me, that's kind of weird, but like in general. Well, not to women either, because that's even more weird. But so the way it works is like, look, what I have here is I've got this guy. Yeah, that's weird. Hold up. Or maybe. There you go. All right. So in here in the app, I've got this and this, right? So these are the two pieces that that will change. So I put it here because I want to like always like clear that out. Also 4. Get the fuck out of here, man. Let's do 8. Oh, sorry, the other way around. 2. What the hell? Oh, I just fucked up. That's better, right? A bit wider, right? You see what I mean? Just yeah. So that's why I put the app here, so I can just like clear this shit up. Yo, fuck Apple, man. Why are they so bad at shit? All right, so here we are. And now, is that your phone? I was like, shit, someone knows how to like whistle really well. Document.query selector container dot append child root. Fair? Now, guys, here's a question. We're gonna make one more component after this, right? The to-do list item component. Theoretically, what we can do if we wanted is we could create a parent constructor that does this for us. We don't have to retype it every time. You see that? That's one like application of the extends right there. What's up? Yeah, but I just thought of it right now. So I didn't think of that until right now.
I thought about it before.
Cool, man. Power to you. But like, I'm just saying, I didn't. I just thought of it right now. But the thing is, so like, if I were coding on my own right now, I would probably be like, all right, now's a good time to go back and refactor this, create like a base component or something, and then have everything extended. Now, do you guys want to see that, or yeah? All right, so let's fucking do it. So does everyone follow the thought process that just took place? I just saw this. I'm like, all right, let's fucking do it. So I'm gonna go here, new file, and I'm gonna call it base component.js. Now, here's the question: do I need this base component to have the like the stupid little thing here? No, because this will always be extended, right? So in fact, I'm gonna say export default class. When you guys remember that? Yeah, so if you do export default class, then like you don't have to put the curly brackets around your import. But it's all, and you can only have one default per thing. So theoretically, we can put like export defaults here too. Per file is what I meant. Sorry. So in here, I can say, all right, so I can remove this piece because that really belongs here, right? And again, this is private, right? Because there's no way to access it since we're not exporting it. And then in here, I can be like, all right, constructor, and it just needs one thing, container, right? Which is going to be this. And this entire piece can now live here. Okay? And in here now, I can say, all right, import base component, right, from where? And in here, all I do is I just say super because it's default. Yeah. In here, I do because I use the container to create. I still need it to pass it in, but that's it, right? And now, and so do you see that? And the super will call the parent constructor. So now, like I say, hey, every time a new to-do input gets created, call base component. It'll automatically create my root. Great, I'm done. I'm not. Good shit. Just trying to test you guys. Yeah. I didn't forget. Cool. Good eye, my friends. Even if you're not confident that you could redo this on your own, does this make sense? Like the logic behind it and like why it's useful? That's the main thing I'm trying to like get out here. I want you guys to be able to follow this, be able to read it if I were to like hand it over to you at some point. And that's it for the time being. You'll have plenty of time and really the rest of your life to like get good at this shit.
Okay, other question.
First question, then you sorry.
Oh, sorry. On your base component.js, at the top when you said
default.
Where are you accessing where are you using the get super random number?
Oh.
It's because you're using it.
Sorry, it's right there.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just yeah. And the thing is, like, even if I didn't use it, like, I mean, it'd be like wasteful to have it there, but it wouldn't do anything, right?
Oh no,
but,
for some reason I thought you had it.
Oh, word, and that's good because that would have been wrong, right? Because it would have thrown an error. Because it's defined there. Yeah, good. Yeah, sorry, John, what's up?
Well, the input class that you edit, it's always going to be the JavaScript input and get super random number.
Yep.
It's always going to be different class, correct?
Yeah, because what happens is, hopefully always, because this will be random enough that the class will always be different.
You're not going to be able to add any CSS code to this class because it's going to be always changing.
No, I can because, well, if I want to add CSS code, it doesn't matter, right? Because with CSS, I can target like children easily. But more importantly, the idea is, look, remember, it's the root. Inside the root is where I add stuff. So I'm not done yet. What I do here is I say this, right? I say this.root.innerHTML, right? And so now in here I can put anything I want. So I can do everything in terms of this.root, right? So that's the beauty of it. So in here, I already know exactly what I'm going to do because I have the code right here. I'm just going to be like, oh, LOL, grab this entire thing. Done. What up, my friend?
Do you need this dot root here? Or in this?
Yeah, you do, because like this dot root points to your actual. Like, do you remember why we wrote that? Because this dot root is your parent of the component. So if you want to bind any events, you do it to this dot root.
Because you're importing from base component, which is calling this dot root as root.
But even then, because it's in the constructor, this dot root will be a property of this instance. And I will prove it to you.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, because we're calling inside, right? Yeah. That's a good question, but yeah. And again, the reason is because here we're doing this dot root. Like we're not doing, root equals. Root, fucking kangaroo or some shit, right? All right. So you go here, we got placeholder and value equals to this dot value, which will be empty. And as you add, and so do you see how this works? As you type, we have to put an on change, as Jama said, that will update and this will redraw itself. Theoretically. So let's get going. So the first thing we want to do is this. We want to do, all right, import to do input, right, from components / to do input, right? We're pulling in this guy, and then here, let's just get started by doing to do input, and we can say, all right, current to do value, fair? And here, let's be like, so far okay? So we're creating an instance of our to do input. Now, theoretically, where you at, bro? It's pretty mad. Current to do value is not defined. Well, of course it's not. What's wrong with it? Yeah, why is this not defined?
It's in the object.
It's in the object, so I gotta do what? Fucking killing it, guys. Good shit. Good shit. Didn't work. You know why it didn't work? You know what? Actually, so I expected it to work, but I know exactly why it did not work. Why didn't it work? Someone tell me, please. What's up? I'm not. No. I'm not drawing it. And how would I draw it? Boom. Got a call.
You did that already.
No, I define render. This
Oh, I
is
see.
boom. There you go. By the way, I could have also done this, right? I could have been like dot render, but no, we're not about that life. Not right now.
Calling render, what? Is that
Renders
calling it?
for
Yeah.
each instance. Yeah.
Oh, for each instance.
Right, because remember,
Oh,
like,
right.
this is- yeah,
Never mind. I'm calling right now.
that's cool, man.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Good shit.
Not bad, huh?
Yeah, you
I feel pretty good. Well, only because like you guys seem like you guys are following. No one's trying to like sharpen pitchforks right now. Like, all right, I'll live another day, maybe. All right, fair. Boom. Now, so here's what we're gonna do. I want to, as promised, we're really close to finding the first like roadblock. Okay, so I want to talk about that first. So here's what we're gonna do. We have this. Let's write our event listener so that when I click, it will. Right, it'll like update it. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna say something like this. Hope this fucker works. I think it will. So I gotta add a bunch, like of events, right? So I'm gonna say this dot init events. Fair? And that's just gonna be init events, a function I write where I just init a bunch of events. Now if you guys remember, we bind the events on this dot root. Can you guys tell me why I bind it on this dot root and not like the input itself? I want to use bubbling, but why? Not stop it. What do I want to use? Like, what would happen if I just did document.query selector input? Yeah, because every time we draw, it redraws it, which means the DOM element goes away. This is also kind of how like React does it, but React takes care of it for you, but here is probably one of the ways it takes care of it. So I do this, right? I say this dot root dot query selector, which means find within the root only input, right? Dot add event listener. Oh, sorry, I can't even do that. I'm sorry, because that's not gonna work either, right? This dot root dot add event listener. And you guys want to do change or key down? Change. I agree. E. And so first so you guys remember this? If you don't, we can always go back here and just find it because like we do it here too, right? So remember what we do? Const target. By the way, we can turn this into another like function if we wanted, so we don't have to redo it every time, but for the time being, fuck it. That actually that'd be a really that's a good stretch though. Maybe. What's up? Oh, I meant more like it's kind of annoying to have to like remember to do all this stuff. So theoretically, what we can do is we can write another. That one's a bit more involved, but we can write another function that lives in base component, where all we have to do is instead of like having to do all this shit, we just pass in the event name and a type of a function to call.
Similar to like the return user.
Yeah. But like for the time being, we'll do this, and we'll say, okay, so I'm gonna be lazy. I can get away with input because there's only gonna be one input inside each component, right? So like ideally, I always say put a class, but I'm just trying to corners right now, right? And here we can say this dot update value. Fair? How many think that does? It's a fucking value, right? And then this dot render. So let's go ahead and create that. What's up?
Update what value?
This dot value, right? You get it? So every time I type in my input field, so if I put like an A, I want to take my this dot value, which equals to LOL, and add an A. You see? Yeah, I haven't done it yet.
Oh, okay, that's why I was looking.
Oh yeah, no, I was just trying to make sure everything's good. Yeah, of course, I got to do like update value, right? And in fact, I got to put this, right? I got to put target dot value, which is what's inside my input field. And then I just say, and you can be like, yo, this is kind of fucking stupid, and you're a little bit right, but because we're drinking the Kool-Aid, we gotta, I don't know. What do? You finish the pouch? Say, oh yeah, I don't fucking know. All good? So here's what we're gonna do. Let's console.log this, right? So we can say console.log old value. Yeah, you have to call render again because now the value is updated, so you got to redraw it. So that's the crux of like how the re-rendering works. In React, this is done for you, but because we're building React effectively, we have to tell it, hey, the data changed. Every time the data changes, you re-render. Fair? Okay. All right, let's test this out. I'm excited, man. Let's see what happens. It's probably gonna break. YOLO. Are you ready? So we do want to key down. So first of all, it worked. But the change required a tab, so fuck that noise. Instead, we're gonna do this.
You said the change required what?
A tab. Because watch. Check this out. If I type shit in, I expect to see my old and new value. If I tab out, old value and new value. You see that?
But that's a change. So.
What's up? Yeah, but I want it on key down. So we could do that. Pretty easy too, actually. See? Oh, no, we probably want key press, sorry. Or key up will work too. That's a good point. Lola is what the fuck?
It gets off as soon as you type something.
Yeah. As soon as I let go, it redraws. And that kind of makes sense, right? Because what it's doing, that's kind of annoying. So, all right. Again, React deals with all that shit for us. But, I mean, it's not that bad. Like, we can just say target focus, right? Yeah, or we can do it on the enter key. That's a good point. Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, you know what? Actually, but this was kind of stupid too because while well no, it's not. So in general, like again, just to if we're gonna do the data like driven way, the way it works with React is every time you update that value, the entire thing redraws. We're coming to a point where like we can only go so far like without the magic of React, which will take care of like focus and all that kind of stuff for us, right? I mean, what's up?
There was no magic.
Yeah, I mean there is no magic, but it's okay. Not magic, additional programming logic. You can believe that, right? Like we could probably do something like in here. We could probably be like, oh, autofocus equals to true. Maybe that's what that's how they do it. Damn it. All right. Well, somehow like they would get that focus going, but whatever. What we can do is in here, yeah. Let's actually talk about the real problem, which is this. On enter, we could do key down actually, can't we? Yes, we'll do key down, and what we'll do is, we'll update the value, which is fine, if it equals to. We can say key code. Is that what we use usually?
Yeah.
Key code, I think, is better, or I think React uses key code, so whatever. So if we do, we'll do key code, and we can say if key code equals to 13, then this value equals to this guy, right?
Doesn't 13 have to be straight?
No, it's got to be a number always, yeah. There. Let's take a look at this. Let's just make sure this works. And then comes the real problem here. Testing. Refresh. Bro, you never. Hold on. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's why I fucked up one last time, which is we only want to really do this render in here, otherwise not, right? So we can say, all right, whatever. Hit enter, and boom, right? We get our new value. Now, what do we want to do? Here's the real problem. What do we want to do here? When you hit enter, we want to take the value and do what with it? Update what, though? Do we want to update this value, or do we want to update this value? That one, right? And then where do we want to create our to-do list? In here or in here? Up here, right? Now, here's the real question. Why can't we just put all that data in here? Why does it have to be outside? Right? Because the problem is this, right? We don't have access to this data in here, do we? Well, what we want to do is we want to update this information. And so the problem is, the real issue here is that this does not know about this at all in any sense of the word. Do you guys agree? That's one. And two is that why does it not know, and why does it have to not know? Right? Like to solve the naive way to solve this problem is that data goes in here, right? And we're done. We can be like, oh, so do update, like whatever, easy. But why don't we do that? Or why should we not?
It's like hard coding, right?
Right. So, and like that's sort of like the point of React altogether is that it should be data driven, not component or UI driven, right? So what that means is that if you do that, now you have tightly bound component and data, which means you cannot reuse this at all at any other point. Meanwhile, I mean, again, like this is so simple, who gives a fuck? But if you can imagine, you might have like a really nice, hardcore, like, input component, which can support like autocomplete and, enters and tabs and all this, this other stuff. If it's bound to specific data, it cannot be reused. Theoretically, though, the weather forecast that we created can be reused in a multitude of other use cases, so long as the data we give to it is the same. You agree? And so that's the main point here, right? So the idea is we want to keep our data completely separated from our components, and the only thing the component should do is when you do an interaction, it should somehow just tell the data to update itself, right? And Flux is a way of thinking that gives you a strategy to do this. Do you see that? So I wanted to bring us like to this point, right? What's up? This is our roadblock, right? So the idea is that up until now, like we've seen why data-driven components are useful, right? Because it's all based on the data. You don't have to look at the DOM. It just redraws itself, and when we do React, we don't have to worry about shit. Like no more of this, oh, re-render crap. It just works, right? But the other part of it is that the weather forecast was, it was hard, but in a way it was very basic, right? Because I think it showed us like how these components, these data-driven components are useful, right? We can extend them, do all sorts of cool things, but they required no user interaction. The other part of it is when the user is able to interact with your components, like a login form or a to-do list, or like a photo album, the coding panes in like Samantha, for example. In all those cases, you have a lot of user interactivity, but you don't want to embed the data in there. It becomes harder to read, harder to reason about, and eventually, like there might be a use case within your app that you didn't consider that you can't really do because the data is so deeply embedded. So what we want to do is we want to keep the data on its own, and we want to keep the components on its own. And really, the only thing we want is we want the components to be like, hey, I have been interacted with. And we have to come up with a way so that the data can be like, oh, the component is telling me it has been interacted with. I must update myself and tell the component to redraw itself. And that's what we're going to work on or talk about when we come back. I don't even know if we're going to start to code. I want to talk about like the way of thinking. It's just a strategy. A Flux is a strategy which will help you, solve and address this problem. Okay, and the idea is even though it's annoying, if you learn it and begin to use it, it'll make it very easy for you to debug really big apps because they all work in that one way, and that's the advantage here. Okay, so let's come back at 8:30, 32. You guys want to, okay, fine. 8:33. You got a full time. Yeah.
It was gonna happen anyway.
It was gonna happen anyway. All right, take care. All right, consider it a reward for pleasing me with this idea.
Thank you, Almighty Ty.
Welcome.
I was impressed. That's all.
That's what I always said.
Good show, bro. I already am.
I didn't say that.
You have to.
Do you want to use anything from 7-Eleven if you need to take a walk?
I think I'm getting what you guys have. Look at me, I can't even keep my eyes open.
You think you're getting sick, you said?
Are you sick?
I'm not gonna lie. I feel like I'm getting sick.
No, my throat's itchy.
Yeah, I feel like I'm getting sick, bro. Yeah. Let me stop it.
People coughing on me. I'm like,
Yeah, she's coughing pretty hard.
it'd be nice if you cough.
She can cough on Rich. I'm supposed to.
What's up, Michael Jackson?
Hey, I have a question. Oh my God. I have a question for you.
You remember Brian? The guy who produced it? You remember Brian also?
Oh, yeah.
Like, still in contact with him? I did some of the drive so long, I stopped doing it, but he didn't specify. When I was building it by hand, what's it called? When I was building it by hand, I'm just testing.
Well, you always had.
So worse than when I was building it by hand, I was but after he wanted to
I think that would be really cool because
How's her work? They use like regular, you know, they'll put the
And then all that. I will also. I'm just telling you that I will build. Yeah. Or like your app.
It's similar to how you put it on your website. You have to upload the website code to the hosting server where there's an outfit. In this case, Shopify is going to host it. And then all you do is just attach it. Wait, you don't know? I know, but like, it's gonna do it though.
We already have it.
You wouldn't know what's funny, somebody else asked me this question, and I said I was gonna reach out to my friend and find out. I will reach out to find out who. I got you, homie. Mommy. I ain't playing with you.
What the hell is wrong with you?
Oh. Bullshit. You know what that is now? Listen up, lady. No. No, I was texting my ex. And then just listen. And then she reminded me of the time where I was farting in her face. And then listen. Yeah, whatever. I'm just guessing. I farted in her face on purpose. And then she was like, "Oh, you remember when?" I was like, funny time." And then she was like, "Fuck you." And I said, "I'll do it again, first chance I get." But remember, she said, "Fuck you." So when I said I'll do it again, first chance I get, and she put like a smirky face. And then I was looking like, what the hell are you smirking at?
Who, me?
Yeah, she thought I meant like I would give. Now it's this weird situation right now. I'm like,
you would again for both situations.
No, I was not.
For both situations.
Okay, I was texting my ex. Just on some friendly stuff. And then I said I was farting her. No, I farted in her face while we were doing some funny shit. And then she was like, remember when you did that, blah, blah, blah. And then I started laughing. And I said, fuck you. And then I was like, I'll do it again for the chance I get. But I'm mad, I was fucking her face for something I get. And then like 5 minutes later, I read the message again. And then because she smirked, and I couldn't understand why the hell she would smirk at me saying I'll fart in her face again. But do you get it?
Only Bob would have this problem.
No. Because
No
she
one else
said
in the
fuck
entire
you.
world.
She put like fuck you, and I said I'll do it again for a chance I get.
Oh, gotcha. I
You
understand.
see this the dilemma?
You should leave out the entire part of the whole like 3 quarters of the story and say like I was talking to my ex and blah. I said something and she said fuck you, and then I said I'd do it again like to the other.
Oh, don't tell people I'm gonna fart.
Oh yeah, don't.
That's a good point.
Because you're like you're getting there and you're like, well, why did you tell me that part?
Fair point.
But yeah, that's my.
I mean, yeah, if you're into that kind of shit, man, how are you? But I was just saying.
It was just a weird dilemma.
Yeah. Yo, this is why you don't talk to your fucking ex. Alright.
Oh,
Yeah.
it reached out and I was gonna talk shit, and I did talk my shit. She cried, and then I was like, oh, and I was like.
Like, coffee, isn't there shit coffee in there?
That's that disgusting coffee. You
Yeah.
know,
No, I want some fancy
What are you
shit
talking
like that.
about? Chock full of nuts is that heavenly coffee?
chock full of nuts. What are you talking about?
That's their coffee.
Shit, yeah, more bills. Come on. Pay my fucking bills. Ah,
I'm optimistic. Offers coming tomorrow.
that's not work when I'm trying.
Check it out.
Oh, that's cool. Oh, like, that's for your gig?
Yeah.
That's awesome, man.
That is not my baby. That is somebody else's baby.
That's cool. Oh, so you do like maternity pictures of it? It's like
I've never done that before. That was the first time.
Okay. Yeah, it seems kind of weird to me.
Listen, all I wanted was I went on the internet, looked at the temperature, and I thought, put your hands like that. That was
Just
it.
that one?
Why would you want pictures?
Yeah.
Like don't you want like
For the baby shower.
for the what?
Baby shower. No,
People
like
take pictures
some
like
people
that
like
for
put
their
up
baby shower.
Wait, so look, tell me what's happening here.
Showers
Like,
like on Friday, people stuff.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's how it goes.
right?
he's like, yo, why you stomach rumbling, right? He's like, I'm hungry.
It's just like cute shit, but
That's cool, man. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
I'm a little stuff is actually quite annoying.
You can pay well.
No, they paid me $150 for it.
That maybe.
No, I can get my own that's cool with them.
Oh, okay, it's like a friend or whatever, right?
So I'm gonna try to get it. I would charge around that amount for an 8.
Very bad.
Yeah.
Want me to make some chips and cookies?
Wait, what is?
It's right. The other group, I don't know what.
Yo, this is
better than-
Yo, this is
Yeah, it's just better than fucking great. That's the whole thing. Man, I want some of the Chihuahua.
You just took the one.
Yeah.
Are you gonna? No, you fucking put your hand dirty.
Yeah,
It's all
go
over
for it.
mine. You got my own.
I'm gonna redo my full hopping.
Take a rest. Why you holding grapes like that, B?
You were just holding them like that. You don't even.
You try to snitch me out.
Big
You guys want
dinner.
snacks? They got meat and cheese and cookies.
I just got bagels on cookies.
They had an event.
That's not, that doesn't fit the stereotype at all.
Yo, I like that guy. He's my boy right there.
Fit the stereotype at all.
That brown guy, he's like the only other like brown like representation I see here. But like, I like him. He saw me with a cookie. He's like, what? He's just perked up. Like his life was just like there's light in his eyes. I'm like, bro. And he was like, I should pay attention. Fuck this shit.
That's too much.
That's exaggerated.
Randy just like grabbing all them grapes.
Okay, people.
I ain't always bullying me, bro.
Yeah,
You gotta feed Lisa Grace.
no, you're flying over there.
Bro,
I'm gonna ignore that. I'm gonna ignore that comment. I'm gonna ignore that comment.
Where'd you get the grapes?
Yo, whatever. I don't give a shit.
that was fuck.
Oh. Actually,
Not
I would like
anymore,
to feed
Baba.
somebody
You
some
don't.
grapes.
Yo, those are pretty good. Nah, I'm good.
This is great.
Sorry.
You cannot have my grape.
Yo, I've been eating like
feeding the
salads
people.
fucking all week. Gross.
Why do you
man,
eat
sir.
salads?
I've been eating steak,
Beach
grilled
back?
chicken.
I'm gonna run a half marathon in September. So I gotta get in shape.
Why?
Because I'm getting out of shape, so I need to like force my like a competition will.
Yeah.
You going down, you gonna start
I'm gonna run after this class is over. Like I run like if I go to the gym, I'll just warm up, but like 2-3 miles.
How long do you run?
I'm just go hardcore.
How long do you run?
There you go. You mean change my immigration, right?
Yeah.
We on ice. We want to take it.
Do you run outside?
Yeah,
We're along the border.
look at that talk like that.
Huh?
You talk like that? Like,
I can.
Is it
Like
better
it?
to do it?
do it.
I don't know. You just do that whole class like that.
No, I told much.
I thought you was gonna talk like that
But like,
so before you started talking.
Can you start like Kareem? That's why.
I prepared this like chapter.
Yo, I always think myself.
All the developers are around.
Yeah. And they talk to and they bring a metal box in their lunch, right? I know that.
They
I know.
all bring their own lunches.
And it's in a box and it smells like curry.
Well, yes, it does, but I don't know.
I like it there, big bro. Y'all got good food.
I know.
All the data guys buy their lunch where I work.
Because they can afford it.
That's true.
I ate the basmati. No, is it basmati? Or
Biryani.
basmati?
Biryani.
Yeah. that's
Actually,
it.
there's one girl that brings her lunch every day.
You make sandwiches with
The biryani.
No,
Mm.
that's the best
You know, look,
ever.
my mom
Here?
makes the best Indian food.
Biryani.
Oh, no, they are better. Dude, biryani is like
It's my
the
staple.
baseline.
That's my staple.
That's just some rice and some meat, bro. Trust me, you get
Yeah,
it.
rice and meat. That's like all I eat. For real.
Yo,
Wait a minute, look.
niggas the best friends.
What's up?
That's
Indian food.
crazy.
Indian food.
Hey, where the
What group is that? That's a part-time class too?
No.
How come they always have meals? I don't understand. Who are they?
So they're the NYCDA gold members, so their classes come pre-catered.
Goat cheese.
All right, and they get 2 instructors, and actually someone does their final project for them.
Oh, this is Tom.
What's this, your GA class?
That's true. GA is like NYCDA gold. Alright, whatever. I don't care.
You're better, not mine.
I know.
You wanna be friends?
No.
Alright, cool. I don't need anyone.
Damn, yo, I can't deal with that much
Yeah,
cheese.
okay, great.
My stomach just like blows the fuck up.
Same.
I hate it.
Same here.
I can't deal with all this chocolate. I'm lactose.
Yeah, like you
No, no.
said, I don't go fuck. Wait till me to tell you I don't go fuck.
Problem is, I get tired of like unplugging my fucking
Wait till
toilet
me to tell you I don't go
every
fuck.
morning.
You clock it every morning?
What's up?
You clock it every morning, you said?
I say a prayer before I flush these days.
For what?
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. It's a little gross.
They have some. I just.
Alright, let's go.
Those grapes.
I've heard this guy.
What?
You did. You was too late.
I'm good for now. Yo, I can't fall asleep, guys. All right. Shall we get started?
Show us the way, Tom.
Oh man, it's about to get real.
So your wife too?
There's T is there.
And it's all you
No, I cook dinner every night.
Crazy.
Hey, wait.
Because she can call, I think if you come to
No, I
Brittany,
I
23?
actually ate,
23?
I'll check it for
Oh,
we
jeez.
were like,
Wait,
So guys,
you turned 24, when?
in March.
let's get started, shall we?
Oh, shit, so I'm the
Now.
youngest one.
To solve the problem that we talked about, like prior, like to the break, we're going to introduce this concept called flux, right? The way it works is, this is not the only way to solve it. It's a way to solve it. It works really well with React, and I think it just makes a lot of sense. And so for the rest of this class, this is probably what we're gonna use. If you want to try something afterwards, after class is done, that's fine too. But the way Flux works, right? The whole Flux is a way of constructing your. It's not a library. It's not a framework. It's kind of like a way of life when it comes to the app itself. It's a way of structuring and constructing and writing your apps so that one, it's very easy to see how data is being changed, and it's very easy to add new features and debug and track what's going on, okay? So in Flux, we have 4 concepts. The store, the dispatcher,
Store like store data.
like like the app data effectively, which is why I was using the term store, right? So the store, I should probably write. Nope. Flux and Flux Redux is an implementation of Flux. So store, actions, dispatcher, and the view. So these are the 4 main concepts, okay? Now we already know what the store is. What is the store?
That's where the data goes.
It's where all the data that your app needs to draw is, right? All the renderable data lives here, right? So in the
But
case,
that's not where it actually rendered from. Right?
no, it just stays there, okay? Right, good question. So we have our like to-dos, num completed, and so forth, okay? Now, so before we go here, let's take a look at the view. What's the view?
Assuming that's the,
UI components, right? Yeah, exactly. So all your UI components are effectively the view, okay? So UI components. So in totality, they make up the view. So if you have a to-do list, if you have like a list with 5 items and the input field, you have 6 modules that make up your view, okay? Now here's the way it works. When the user interacts, so if the user does a click event, a typing event, like whatever, what we do is instead of making an update here, we send an event to the dispatcher. The dispatcher is basically a giant function that is a bunch of if-else statements, okay? So if I hit the enter key in my like to-do input, instead of trying to update this value, what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to say, oh, user or like new to-do item, let's say, because that's what it is, right? If you're going to hit enter, you want to add a new like to-do item.
Talk, we continue. In view, what code actually is there? Is that like an event listener?
Yeah, it's the event listener in here, right? So like the view can be anything, but typically they have React components, right? Or in our case, what's up?
Like a button?
Yeah, but it's not just a button. It's like the button component, right?
Okay.
So it's always going to be some sort of component.
Sometimes, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, so dispatcher does like the validation stuff?
The what now?
The validation stuff is
Not even. No. You want to do the validation in your view. The dispatcher, or I guess you could do it in the actions, but the dispatcher, what it'll do is it'll say, oh, it just takes your event like, new to do, right? And it pushes it to the actions, right? The actions is basically, so this is just usually a function that you pass into every single UI component. So why? Well, so the idea is this. This is what talks to this versus this, right? So it's a way to keep them separated without knowing about each other. The view does not know about actions or store. It doesn't give a fuck. It just says, hey, someone clicked me. The dispatcher says, oh, hey, this new to-do needs to point to some sort of action, right? And that action is a function that will update the store. So in here, like it'll usually send like new to-do and like wake up. So you can send it like the name of something that that occurred, right? Or like user hit enter, or new to-do added, or text value filled, like whatever, and you pass in like the thing that was in the input field. Okay, the action will say, let me take this guy, let me take my current value, right, and let me update it or do some sort of thing on it, right? So in the action is where typically you would like update your state, your store, right? Like you would say, oh, let me take this value, let me create a new to-do list item, let me push it to the to-dos like array, and let me clear the current value, fair? And then the final thing it does is then the new store, because the stores like variables have updated, right? You guys agree? So the new store would then go back to your view, and your view would re-render. Everything in the view would redraw itself. And that's it. That's Flux.
One more time.
Yep. Okay? So again, the idea.
So what's Flux?
Are you joking with me? So no, it's fine. So the whole point of Flux, right, is just that it's a way to keep your views and your data completely separated. Okay? So there's 4 options, or 4 like major themes. Okay? The views, which is like your UI. The dispatcher, which is like so. It's the tunnel. That's a good word to say. It's the tunnel that kind of makes these guys like talk to each other without them knowing that they exist, right? It's sort of like you shouting into a cave and someone's like, oh yes, I agree, right? The action is where you actually take your information and update it somehow. Okay, so like in this case, if a new to-do event gets dispatched, right, or action gets dispatched, here we take what's in the input field, right, the value of the input field, and we update our store as needed, and then that store will then redraw. So the entire app gets redrawn with the new data that lives in the store. So the idea is that the two like benefits is, no matter what, anytime you console.log your store, you know exactly what the status of your app is, right?
Every time you say it again?
Every time you console.log the store in this way, because every user action will always update the store and then redraw itself. So at every point in time, if you were to console.log the store, you would see exactly what the status of your app is, right? Or more importantly, you can, if you want, you can inject a new status. So for example, if you're trying to build like a real-time app or like a Slack app, all you got to do is just update that store and everything should redraw. And the idea is the actions can come from your UI or somewhere else. So for example, the way I do it in Samantha is, so like you guys were looking at the broadcast, right, where like you can see what's going on. So what I do is like when I type, so I do some keystrokes that will dispatch a, hey, the left pane has been updated or something, right? That dispatch will then go to a store and update. Oh, the value of the left pane text field is now, like whatever, right? And then not only does it redraw, it will push it to a DB somewhere, and then on your computers, as soon as that update happens, I do a new action which says, hey, a new store is available.
So you're not even using sockets or anything?
No, I'm still using sockets to know when a new update has happened. But that new store says, oh, because there's a new action where the store has updated, I'm going to redraw the UI components, and that's how you see all the changes.
When you say new action, is that like a new object? When you say new?
A complete new object. And there's like a bunch of different variations of it. So like in one variation, what you do is it's actually each one of these guys, each action is called a reducer, where you pass in your old store and you get back a new store. and everything, and so like it always changes and gives you back a new store that is completely different with the new updates. What's up?
So basically, there are two actions that happen, like
In
updating the store, and then it's when it's done, then it's redrawing.
yeah, but the redraw is part. So every time the action happens, it will update the store and redraw.
Oh, okay.
You see, it's in one, and so the idea is the actions can come from. It doesn't have to come from the UI. Like you can have like a timer that every 5 seconds just clears your like current value.
I know this like messes with any like type of speed because this is all happening in the browser.
Right. So that's where React comes in, because what React does is it's very smart about how it updates the actual view itself. So the beauty of it is that like, unless you're changing the entire store, you're probably changing 1 or 2 properties, right? So only those properties get updated. So it saves that. I mean, like you've seen the broadcast version, right? It's pretty quick, right? But the beauty of it is that your state, the app state, is completely portable, and you can update it at any point. That's why it works. That's why every single piece, like if I create a new tab, you guys see that tab right away, right? Because what I'm doing is I'm saying, oh, you know, I hit the plus button that says create new tab. That goes here and updates an array of tabs, and that goes here. And I also you know, update a Firebase. So then you guys say, oh, I see a new store. It gets like brought in. Boom, you have like your tab. What's up, Martin?
File structure wise, this is all fine.
All front. Right, and there's a bunch of ways to actually, you know, like organize your files. Some people do it like by feature, some people do it like by component and stuff like that. There's a whole bunch of ways around it.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you. No, it's all right. So my question is, since this is all front end, file structure wise, what is the most logical way to organize components?
I mean, it depends. Like me, I like to. Usually, what I do is I'll do it component-wise, but a lot of people don't like that. Like they prefer to do it feature-wise. I feel like that kind of doesn't make sense to me. But like, if you want, like, so what that you could do, like, if we go back to our like to-do list, is theoretically like these actions could be put into their own file or files, right? I mean, it gets very crazy. Maybe now's not the best time to talk about it. Like, maybe we should just see it working first, and then we can talk about breaking it up. But in general, you can put all the components in one place, all the actions in one place, the store in one file, and the dispatcher is just like, it just gets passed in. Or like you can have like one folder that defines, okay, here is how you add a to-do list. So there you have the component for your adding the to-do list. You have a file for all the actions and so forth, right? So you can
like that way it's breaking it up based on functionality.
Yep. Versus
Whereas breaking it up versus like component and the data associated with the second component and the action associated with the second.
yeah, exactly. And so some people I think a lot of people prefer that way. I personally haven't seen why it's so great, but like whatever. And I'll show you both ways, right? But not today. Today I just want to show you this like work. And the other thing to note is, again, this is just like a process, right? Here is how you should structure your app. There's been a bunch of people have built frameworks off of this, right? So there's like Reflux, Redux, Alto or Alt, fucking MobX, all this shit, right? And they're all kind of insane, if you ask me. Usually, like what I've been doing in the past like couple of months is I've been like playing around with a whole bunch of these like Flux implementations. I actually wrote my own too that I call a capacitor. Get it? Flux capacitor. Which we use at work actually. The thing is that like I mean I don't know. Like now that I think about it, I think it's a piece of shit. Whatever. But in general though, like so you don't have to roll with a specific library, and I think that's just an important thing to keep in mind. But I would recommend you playing around with Redux and stuff. It gets so insane. I spent like 4 hours just being like, like I know how Flux works. I wrote my own Flux implementation, and I still was like, what the fuck is going on? And then I finally got it working. There you go. What the flux is going on? And I finally got it working. I'm just like, this kind of sucks, man. But like the thing is that I'm not sure if I'm gonna actually go over Redux necessarily. But if you guys are super interested, I can show you. I built some shit in it. It's all right. Yeah, I'll show you the code soon, right? And so the idea is that from now going forward, for the next like week or two, like we'll be building apps with Flux, right? Not any of the implementations, just Flux, I think. Okay, and we can kind of take a look at how it works, and then hopefully, like all the other ones, just make sense because they're just functions on top of it.
So this is still not.
No. So the idea is all React really is that, like, you know, the constructor that we created? React is just a much better version of that, right? Which does a lot of optimizations to make sure that it's not redrawing every single HTML. Thank you, guys.
But in React, we could like store fucking HTML variables.
Can't we? Aren't we doing that with like?
I mean, yeah, but isn't it like a file type or some shit?
It's just that like what they do is like they do some fancy shit, but in general, what we've done is effectively the same idea, just way crafty, right? Like that's the one thing that you just have to know, right? Like everything we've done so far has been very React-y, except it's just not React. And Flux has nothing to do with React. You can use Flux and Angular if you wanted to. You can use Flux with a jQuery app. You can use Flux with your own like vanilla projects. But as you can see, like it gets kind of bad because now you're redrawing shit all the time. And if you use something like React or Vue or Angular, like they'll be smart about how often you have to redraw your app. And that's the main use case. And shit like, oh, I typed enter, it redrew my input. Fuck. Things like that, like you don't have to worry about. Or like, hey, I want to add an event listener. I need to add it to the root because otherwise shit gets, you know what I mean? Like all that stuff, like you don't have to worry about it anymore. And that's the real advantage. But Flux is just a way to write your apps, and it's useful because it promotes the separation of data and the UI, and that's a big deal. Okay, so with that being said, you guys want to see a sample Flux in implementation? Yeah. All right, so let's do it. Here's what we're gonna do. So we need three concepts, right? So in addition to the data, right, which we have in our app data, we need actions and we need the dispatcher. Okay, so here's the way it works, okay? Can I just comment this out for the time being? Too late, I already did it. What's up? It's my life, right? I do me. Let's change this to store. Fair? Since we're using the React-y words. Shut the fuck up. One thing we could do is actually, you know what? Before I do that, let me go ahead and commit this so you guys have it, right? And then we can go. What is this? Okay, this is it. All right. Up again. What? Yo, he's actually on it right now. He just heard you say that. Yo, Paul, that was Oz.
What up, Paul?
We have fun. All right, git checkout -b. What should I call this? What's up? Oh, we gotta give it. Okay, lecture 50 initial Flux commit.
Or just ignore it.
Ready, what do you need?
Wow, I thought I was calling my face, not.
Oh, you want me? In the middle of something.
Yeah.
Okay.
You took a picture of that, right? Can you put it on Slack, please?
There's much better pictures that I can also put on.
That makes sense.
Okay, fair enough. There's one where there's like, you know what? If you took a picture, I'm gonna get rid of it. I'm gonna draw it in one more way, just to show you the other way. But here, added initial code with store, etc. All right, get status, get push -u origin. What's in that buttercup? Come on. All right, and get status, get checkout -b lecture 50 Flux E2, whatever. All right, and we are good to go, my friends. Let's do it. So the one thing I want to do real quick is I want to take one more picture I want to draw one more thing to kind of show you another way that you can think about this. All right.
Can I live?
Wait, what just happened?
He was with the last one.
Stand bags.
Jeez, man.
At least you weren't in a movie.
That's
He's one of
the
those
worst.
people who slurps like this. Like,
Oh my god.
Why the fuck do you guys go to movies, man? Like, you probably have a bigger TV at home with better quality, and you could like
I don't go to
watch without your pants on.
It's about the
I only go to
experience.
movies when somebody else is paying.
That's right. I go like once a year. I go with my parents.
You gotta get somebody else to pay.
Yeah, well, I thought I was, my son was gonna pay, but it was like,
You ended up paying? That's a sad story.
wow.
That happened to me once.
He came up with the tickets, he's like, I'll get the ticket. I'll get the
Wait, what? A
ticket.
girl
I
can't
took
pay
out
on the
my
date
card.
Hold
So
on.
I got caught up in
Wow.
$500 on the
I thought it was
I was like, how did this happen? I got set up.
Yeah, Brendan, let's go.
You know, Bob was a scheme.
Y'all need me some free meals. What you need? Bring me out here trying to ship them on me.
What's going on, you guys? Jeez.
Texting me there.
All right. So the way it usually works is the view will dispatch something, and then that will go into an action of some sort, right? So you can, if you want, like you can like dispatch from the server if you want. You can dispatch through like time. How do you do time? 12, 6, whatever, right? You can dispatch as many ways as you want. That will always go to the action. The action will then update the store, and the store will update the view, and you do it again. So do you see that? It's a unidirectional data flow because data always goes one way to the left. Once that updates, it goes back to the right, and you're done. And you can queue shit up, whatever, right? You see? And if your actions always wrap a function that will take your old store and give you back a new store, you can queue this up. So you can have like 5 or 6 different changes, and it doesn't matter because every action will update the store. So the changes will apply incrementally, and you never have any weird like intermediate state and stuff like that. This is the server. So like a backend, you can have like for example with Samantha, or even with the live class notes, right? Like what I'm doing is the server or the backend Firebase is saying, hey, I want to dispatch a new action. The app says, oh, LOL, a new action. What is it? I will update the store and I will redraw everything. And that's how the, like, if you look at the live class notes, if there's a bunch of files being added, like the last one goes up. That's because, right? I don't know if you guys ever see it, but you know, if you have like 4 tabs open and I save one, that one will jump up or be red or some shit. I don't remember. And it jumps up, right? Yeah. So the way I do it is I say, hey, there's a new file. It just rearranges the array. That's a new store. It gets drawn, and that's it. So you see how that's like super simple?
Was this how you did the, because you said by time also, was this how you did that whole Instagram thing to Medium, friend or something like that?
Well, so no, we both independently like built it. No, because that was all backend. So there was no UI in that. Thank fucking God. It was a completely different thing. But you could probably apply the same idea. I mean, in fact, it's really the same idea, right? Because like every 12 hours or something, it just says, hey, go read Instagram, then update this and update Medium. You know, then you're back.
What do you mean there's no UI?
In my travel blog, with general, there's no UI.
Oh, the thing that you showed before with the Instagram?
Instagram that goes, yeah, it's all on the back end. All in my new favorite language, Lua. Actually, I don't know. I like Python too. I don't know. All right, so now we're gonna build this, okay? So there's a couple of things that go in here. Oh yeah, I was gonna get rid of this shit. So let's get rid of this for the time being, right? I'll just put it here actually. Whatever. Okay. So I think the best way to approach it is this. For the time being, let's completely forget about our what to do input, okay? Like who gives a shit? Fine. Now, I want you guys to tell me this. Can you please define for me some actions that my to-do list can take? What are some things that the user can do with my to-do list? Create a to-do list, right? So we can be like, all right. So one thing we can do is, okay, we can say const actions equals to, okay, create to do. Okay. Delete. Actually, no, this is wrong. Sorry. Here's the way I like to do it. Object always. Delete to do. What's up? Yeah, they're all functions. Edit to do. Oh, you want to do update? Okay. Much work.
It sounds like you were. Well, they both do the same shit.
Okay. Just do a few more. Completed, right?
About like something like set an alert.
Oh, yeah, I guess we could do that. In fact, you know what? Yeah, I'll do that. Like reminder to do or something. But even though we have all these, and these are all great, I'm gonna do only 2, which is create and mark completed. That's beautiful. We can come back and add more if we need to. What's up? Oh yeah, no, that's a good point. That's a good one. But anyways, we have this, right? Okay. All right. So is that fair? Now, the way this works is as follows. Each one of these guys will take 2 files. Now, I'm taking some liberties here. You don't have to do this, but I think it's a good practice. So I'm going to show it to you, okay? We're going to have our old store, okay? And we're going to have additional arguments, okay? Now, if you want, like, we could do this. If we wanted to spread operator it, all right? Would you rather do that? Or, I mean, I think actually, it's, to be fair, like in traditional Flux, it's always an object of things you want to update. So we'll keep it that way, okay? Additional props. So like you pass on, like you don't have to do this, but this is the way it works. I want to just keep it, okay? And what you do is this. So to create a to-do, you would have to have like some sort of function that does it, right? So what you would do is you would do like, okay, const create new to-do list. Okay. And so this would take, what's up? Yep, let's call it props. And it would update the old store, right? And it would say const new store, right, equals to object dot assign. And what does that do? Yeah, so you see what I mean? So like what we do is to update the old store, like we take the props and we do something. In this case, to create a new to-do, we have to push into this guy, right? And then we return that, so we have a new store. Is that fair? Add to objects. Or if you take an empty object and you put it, it will copy an object or whatever, right? So here we just say return create new to-do. What's up?
This is the function to create. I mean that creates a new component.
Yeah.
Why you have to return it? You just call it.
Well, so because we haven't built the dispatcher yet. The dispatcher will always recreate the store for us. That's all. Okay. So far, so good.
What are props?
Props are properties that we pass in. So, like for example, in the case where you hit the enter key with the new, like the new to do,
yep.
The prop will be an object which has a new item. That's it. It'll look like this. The prop will be like new, item. And you can call it anything you want, right? And so it's like, okay, wake up. Okay, that's it. And then we take that prop and we can do some shit to it here.
So you take the prop and then.
I haven't really built it in. I'm kind of trying to show you the structure. Right. But if you want, I could just build it right now. It'll look like this. We have the list item, right? What's it called? List item. From. So all I would do in here is I would say, okay, const new to do, like text, because that's what it is, right? Equals to props. Fair? And then I would say, okay, const to-dos equals to old store. So that gives me the old array. And then I can say, all right, to-dos dot push, right? I can't, it's gotta be small. Wait, did I actually pass that out? Yeah, I do. Small l, right? And so here I can say list item new to-do text, right? So now I've updated the array. And then here I would say, you see, I'm updating. So now I have a new store. And again, it might seem pointless now, but I always take in an old store, I get back a new store every time. So every one of these will always incrementally update, and that makes it like very durable. I can replay and pass forward and stuff like that. But in general, like this is the approach. So the idea is, again, these are the actions, right? So we haven't like talked about these two parts. We're just talking about how the action updates the store, and that's it, right? So the idea is a dispatch comes in, it calls an action. That action could be, in this case, create to do, right? That will call what? A function, just a normal ass like function. Who cares, right? That function will take your store, update it, and give you back a new store.
Oh, you define old store up there.
Yeah.
To-dos, your current to-dos.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm pulling out the old store dot to-dos. I'm doing a push, and I'm going to pass it back. You see that? And so actions that create to-dos will give me back a new store. Okay, fair. So here, even though we don't have this, like this in and of itself is a program, right? So watch, I can run this program pretty easily. Yeah.
After that assign,
Mm-hmm.
is it to do or to do's?
Oh, sorry, to-dos. Good looks, man. Obviously, right? Because we're trying to update that array. Good shit. God damn, Oz. You got me twice, right? Shit. See, now I'm starting to get self-conscious. I'm about to turn this shit up, man. Come on.
Oz keeps the class.
You see that? Shit like that keeps me up at night. What if they don't want me to see? Fucking with you. All right. Anyway, and then. See, as it turns out, the bomb shot was within you the whole time. Is what it is. Now, okay, so watch this. So let's play with it, right? So here, watch this. Oh, sorry, I can do this. Console.log actions, right? Create to do. This is a function, right? Yeah. So I can call it like this. App data. And I can say, all right, what is it? We called it what? New to do text. Oh, you know what? Fuck this shit. I'll do it better. Const new store 0 equals, just to show you again, this is not how we would do it, but like whatever. Yeah, because we're hard coding this part, right? Because the idea is like we would just update it always. But anyway, and then we can say const new store 1 equals to actions create to do new store 0, right? New to do text, right? And we can do it again. Const new store 2 equals to actions. See what I mean? So at each action will individually update our store. See that? Exactly, because I'm getting a fresh version of my store every single time. So there won't be ever any conflict, right? So if I implemented the update like to do, and that came in at a weird time, it would, like, you guarantee that because you're getting, like, you're putting in the old one, you're getting back a new, there won't be any weird in-between states. And then new to do text, do push-ups, right? Now watch this. If you do console.log new store 0, new store 1, new store 2. Again, I don't even need the like UI right now. I can go back, I can hit refresh, and boom, you see that? I mean, it's like the reason why it shows it up as you know what? Sorry, I fucked up a little bit, which is, what's up, man? What's up? Oh, we probably want to copy this guy too, actually, which is a good point. So I could probably do some, because I'm passing it in by reference. So I can say, let's do this. Oh, easy. .concat. What this will do is it should give me back a new array. If I were to look at it now, it should update. No, it's silly. But anyway, the idea is if you look here, you get 3 list items. And the first one, wake up, drank, do push-ups. Or if you wanted to do something like, that should have given me a new one. Caduza.concat. Yeah. Anyway, I probably just fucked some shit up here. But like the idea is that, so, and the thing is, like, we didn't even touch the dispatcher of the view. We could just add those in, and now instead of us having it hard coded, the user's like actions will just go ahead and do it, right? And instead of doing new store every time, what we could do is we can do, like, instead of const, as you said, let. And now we can just update app data every time. And that's effectively
The same thing.
what's up?
The same thing.
Exactly, but that's the point, right? Every time you do a create to do, it does the same exact thing, only this part is different. And you can do that for a bunch of actions. And so the idea is just now you just have to say, hey, the view, every time the view is interacted with, it will push through the dispatcher an action. If the action is defined, it'll do anything. If the action is not defined, it doesn't give a shit. And that's how you can also make this reusable, right? So instead of creating like create, like to do, if we said, oh, you know, input field string. Now you can do whatever the fuck you want in there, right? You see that? And you could do it, and you could do it that way. And so now you have an input field that is actually super like reusable. Super reusable. Make sense? Yes, so, maybe so. Cool. All right. So let's keep going though, right? So now the next part to build is our dispatcher, right? And what the dispatcher does is we pass the dispatcher into the view. And so instead of calling it like directly, I can just run my dispatcher and it'll do it. And actually, it's actually pretty simple. Let's do this right here. We can say const dispatcher equals to it's a function that takes an action and some props, right? Oh, it takes an action, it takes some props, and it takes a store. Because again, these are all going to be in different like files. I'm putting in one file just so you can see, right? But they're all going to be in different files. Yeah, for sure. Right now, I'm putting it in one so it's easier for us to see everything, right? Because the thing is, like, the one thing with Flux is, in order to make a change, you have to touch like 4 files. You have to touch the store, maybe. You have to touch the action. You have to touch these guys are like, you can call them your like reducers or your store like mutators, like whatever. And then you have to touch the view. So that's why. So in here, what this does is. Or like if you want, like if you don't want to pass this every single time, which is fine, like you could probably do this. Return a new function, which has a store, right? And all it does is it does actions, name. You good? What? Were you sick or you don't understand?
No, I'm just saying.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear. So the idea here is this, right? What you can do with the dispatcher is what you can do with the dispatcher if you want is it will always pass in the create, like to do, and the props, and this gets passed in from the view itself. And what you can do here is like you can say, all right, const like new store like equals to, and then or fuck that shit, you can be like app data equals to, and then like you can run like a function called like render or something, which will draw the entire app all over again. I mean, so like you know that could be in that function. You can say, all right, let me redraw the to-do input. Let me redraw all my new input items. You know, X, Y, Z, like whatever. But you just do that through here. So the dispatcher just says.
Const dispatcher. Right. So it takes the property of store.
Right.
You're returning.
Oh, you're right. It should be store, right? Might be. Yeah.
You're returning a new function.
Yep. Good.
That takes two properties.
Action name and stuff like this. So instead of me having to call this like by hand, I can just call it through the dispatcher. Because again, I don't want to pass app data into my component, right? That was the whole point of this. So if I do it in this way, I don't care about what the store is. I just care about what action occurred and what that means, and that's it. So you say, hey, the user clicked something. Here's what they clicked. Oh, the user typed something. Here's what they typed. And then the dispatcher, which is application specific. So you're gonna have like, even though this dispatcher code might be the same, you're gonna have to do a different dispatcher for every new app you create, right? And the store will be different too, but that makes sense because that's like the data. But the idea, the components stay the same.
And then you want to call render in that?
Well, in this case, we have to because, again, like we're doing it dirty. But the way it works is if you use React, it just works. Or like there's ways to do it in React so that like you can, like typically, the one thing I didn't mention is you need to have like a top level like component that just draws like the rest of it out. So there's different ways, that they do it. Like Redux does it in a certain way. Like when I built Luau, I did it in a specific way. I just had like a big component that just says, hey, the state's updated, redraw everything. But here, or if you want, like you can be like, oh, app render or like whatever, right? And the idea is now if I do it this way, and you know what, you can do this even store. So in here now, what you can do is this. You can be like, all right, dispatcher app data. Const my application dispatch equals to, right? Because, and so now this guy is this function, right? So now, like what I can do, and for the time being, because we're not like drawing in the browser, our render could be console.log actually. You know what I'm saying? And we're good.
Dispatcher function.
It would probably live in your index. Right, or it could live in a dispatch.js, but this would live in your index, right? And then watch. Now I can say my application, like dispatch, create to do, and I can do the same exact thing, and it should work. You see what I mean? So here, let me do it one more time, and let's see what it does. It should work. Hopefully it does. We'll find out soon enough. Oh. Action is not defined where. Oh yeah, action name, sorry. Right? Boom, you see that? It worked. So the first three worked. Like wake up, drank, do push-ups, wake up, drank again. So it's the same exact thing, but now, like, you don't even have to know or care about what the actions are, right? And if you want, like, instead of doing store, you can pass in store, the render function, and the actions, right? So hold on, let's pause. All right, you were fucking looking at your computer, so of course you're not following. Everyone else, though, right? So tell me, so let's walk through this one more time, right? So again, remember, we're trying to build this piece out. Well, what we did it is we did it this way first, because like this is just pure like object. Like we just take objects and we change it, and that's it, right? Then we added the dispatcher, which is a little hardcore, no worries. And then what's left is the view, right? So the idea is this. Here is our store, the initial data, fair? Okay, whatever. These actions determine the different ways that the store can be updated, right? So you can update the store by creating a new to-do item, or you can update the store by taking an existing to-do item and marking it completed. Okay, and that's it. Fair? Okay. Now, the idea is, okay, well, how do you actually create a new to-do item, right? So that requires some sort of logic, right? So what we do is we define a series of functions. Now, we could put this inside, but it becomes crazy because the whole point of this is that it should be easy to read, right? So you should be able to open up the actions.js and just read these names and understand exactly what this app does. Does that make sense? Yeah, exactly, right. Yeah, that's a good way of doing it, right? But instead of like having a controller that will like do all the DB shit, we now just update an object, our DB, if you will. Fair? So what we're doing here is, so to create new, like to do, we'll just, again, we always take the old state of the object, we do some stuff, and we get back a new state. Okay? So what we're doing here is we're saying, okay, give me the old store, whatever it might be. So initially it's empty, maybe like after 5, like to-do ads, it's like 5 items, whatever. And we just want to, in this case, what it does is it tries to find a property called new to-do text. And once it finds it, it just will push it into the, and that's it. Fair?
Why do you call it property?
Oh, because it's an object we're passing, that's why. I remember I said we could make it an array, but the flux way is you always pass you pass back an object, so that's why we're doing it this way. If you feel like doing it as an array, that's fine too. It doesn't really, it's fine by me. Also, I think this is how we make it. One second, let me just see. Yeah, there you go. 4 followed by 5. Okay, good. Yeah, that's where it was. Sorry. Anyway, so is that fair? So again, every time we're creating a new object, a new store object. Okay, and you see how we're returning it? More on that later. So again, the actions, all they do is they take an old store, they take some properties, and they transform your store in some way. To make it useful, yeah, what's up, Chrissy?
What is that? Why did you put that in there? Like an object without a sign, and then you put a curly bracket.
The empty one? So what I'm doing is I'm saying take this object, old store, add it to this object, which is like whatever,
right,
and then put it into a new object. So this is a way to copy an object.
Okay.
What's up? Sorry? Yeah, exactly. So like this is A plus B, and that's what we're giving back.
Carry on.
Cool. Okay. So far, okay? Okay. Now, the actions by themselves are pretty like useful. If you just call them, if you don't set them to anything, it's just gonna do an update. Who gives a shit? To make it useful, here I'll get rid of this too because this is the old stuff. We have our dispatcher. The dispatcher is a bit crazy, so I just want to like take a second to go through it. Right? The dispatcher, we only give it a store. Like we'll give it a few more, but basically you pass in a few variables to the dispatcher, and it gives you back a function. Okay, which you can call over and over again. Okay, so this is how functional programming works, right? You have a function that gives you back a new function with some variables trapped in scope, right? So what happens here is this function call, its store is going to equal to what? App data, right? So what we can do now is if I do my application like dispatch and I pass in the action name, and so instead of basically I get to call this action through the dispatcher, and what it will do is it will always update my store internally, and I can tell it how to draw it out, like how to draw the store. So typically you have like a parent component that will draw all of your subcomponents, and that parent component is specific to your app. So the idea is your components can be all like reusable, but you're gonna need like people usually call it a controller component, right? or a controller React component. The same, all the stuff we're talking about right now applies to React.
Dispatcher will handle the render.
Exactly. So the controller component would always draw itself somehow, and there's a couple of ways of doing it. Like the way I do it in Luau is I put the dispatch function inside the controller component, and I say every time the dispatch gets called, redraw. There's a bunch of different ways you can do it. But the idea is that having done this, in this case, our render is our console.log, but we can, just like when we first started, right? Instead of drawing shit to the browser, we just put in the console, right? But what we can do instead is you can put the render could take the store and be like, oh, let me go ahead and draw the shit out of everything. Or it could be a function that just goes through every single component that we want to draw and just calls the render. But the idea is, so now this is sort of like, it's kind of like its own loop, right? Because every time the component gets clicked or typed on, it will, and we haven't built this yet, right? But it will call the dispatcher. The dispatcher will say, okay, I've got an action. Does it exist in the actions object? Yes. Let me call the function. I get back a new object, which I'm gonna redraw. Or I don't see anything. Okay, I won't do anything, and we're done here. You see that? So that's how this works, right? The viewer does some shit. It goes to the dispatcher. It says, oh, can I do something? Yes. Let me update the store, redraw again, and you're back at square one. Or, nope, you can't do anything. I won't do anything, and I'm done. Does that make sense? Does that help? And I know, like, the code is crazy. Now, the one thing you should know is that I want to make sure that you guys are able to read this. Don't expect to have to redo it, rebuild it yourself, because, again, everyone and their mom has built a fucking Flux, implementation, including me. So the idea is, like, you can just use it, right? What's up? Your mom didn't build one? Not yet, right? Yeah, well, my mom didn't either, to be fair.
I have a question. The part that we haven't built yet, is that where you handle render being called in a dispatcher? Okay, because we're not importing or exporting anything.
Yeah, we're not doing anything right now, yeah. So what we can do is this, and so there's a couple of ways. So, like, one way I do it, like in Luau, I've been calling the dispatcher inside, like, a component, or, like, we can just have it in the index, right? So I'll show you the index way just because, like, we're already here, like, whatever.
So would we? Oh, okay.
Oh shit! It's 9:33. Oh, is that why? I was just like, what's up? Okay. That didn't even. What's up? No. What you do is you can pass the. Yeah, you call it in a bunch of different components, and you can just pass it in. Like, you know how in the constructor we passed in the data, the container. You can also do one more. The dispatch, you're done. And you can say if dispatch exists, then do something. Otherwise, who gives a shit?
How does it know it exists? You don't want them talking to each other.
What's up? No, the dispatch is just a function, so it's okay because it's just a function that you call, right? So, like, that's the one. Like, you have no choice. You have to emit some sort of event or call a function. Like, for example, my Flux implementation, it doesn't even call a dispatcher. It emits an event. And if the event, if something else is waiting for the event, it'll work. Otherwise, not. Based on my experience building the new thing that we just built, it's actually much better to do it this way, where you just pass in a function and says, hey, is this function value equal to a function? Yes. Then let me just call some shit. Otherwise, who gives a crap? Yeah, I will. But it's 9:33. So what's up? Yeah, if you guys want to, if you guys want to go, like, that's fine. I can just show it, but then we'll start again on Sunday right here. Fair? So if you guys gotta go. If not, we're gonna keep going. What's up?
Yeah.
Wait, what's up? Oh, yeah, cool.
By the way, guys, my birthday is June 5th, so start saving up for the present.
What do you think this is? Are you serious?
Start saving up for my present. I would appreciate it.
So we have anyone who's wants to see this or not? Huh? Oh, it's okay. I can show it. I'm gonna show it again on Sunday, but just like how to make this instead of doing a console, actually like update. Have a good one.
Drinks on you, right?
What's up?
Night Bob is buying.
Yeah, but I'm gonna like define the render.
You're buying tonight?
Yeah, but if everyone's leaving, then I don't give a fuck. I won't. I'll just do it when I get home. Or I'll just do it on Sunday.
my god.
Brittany's buying. Brittany love buying.
Everybody's folding.
Yeah.
What?
That's how you know it's been really well.
Oh my god. I really love it.
Yeah.
Babe, look, he's like, who's saying? There's a lot of people running past the
Yeah, they got you.
What is that?
It was a
They went out the back
cookie.
door.
And they got
It's the saddest
It's
cookie, I'm
such a nice
sorry.
night out.
I know.
I'll take the window.
It was a flower.
Sort of like a flower, so.
Not gonna get mad at me because I come.
No.
Competed,
Which one?
Mark competed.
No, in ES6 trillion commas are okay. Yeah. I know you guys aren't sticking around to see it, are you? Oh fuck! All right, let's do it. I don't know, man. I was like, what the fuck are you guys doing? All right, cool. So here's what we can do. Why don't we just, for the time being, we can even do this. Just because we're gonna keep it as G as we can, right? And in here, so we have the new store. So all we got to do is this. So here, let's bring this back. And you see how it takes just one thing, the app data current like to do value. I would actually, so we can just be like, all right, this. Ooh, nope. Here's what we're gonna do. We can probably, for the time being, just do something like this. Fuck, man, what was that? Hey, what's up? All right. You got to pass in how to render, right? Or because like we don't want to put the like to do input in here. That doesn't make any sense, does it? Right? Because now it's specific, right? So you want it to have like a function called like render that you pass in here, and the render function itself,
Updates the store.
exactly is what updates like the store, right?
That's what that is. That's that second function in my application dispatch, which is
Ex-
the render function.
Exactly, and in fact, the way I would do it is I would say, okay, app like render or something, and so if you do that, you can be like, all right, const app like render equals to, or you know what, fuck, I'm gonna do it as function store, and what I can do here is I can be like, if I have, I can be like, to do input dot render. You know what I mean? And that's all there would be to it. So I have the app render here, and I've got the to do input dot render, and so I'm creating it in this way, right? And I might want to pass in like store or some shit like that, so it re-updates itself. And what would happen here? In fact, it wouldn't be store; it'd be store dot, what do we call it? To do value, right? And then I would also, oh, sorry, not there. Store dot current to do value. And then if I were to create another one, like, yeah, I would also have to, I mean, it might not make sense, but I would have to do like to do lists. And I would pass in like store dot to dos. And then in the to-do list would be, I would create a list of those like to-do list input values, right? So I don't think it makes sense to do right now because it'll probably take like half an hour. Remember how we did the composing where we did the weather forecast, and inside the weather forecast we called the weather item. So we would have to-do list, and that would call to-do list. You know, it would call our list item. And so if you had 5, it would call 5. If you had 4, it would call 4, and so on and so forth. But that's how that's how this would be structured. And of course, we want to pull this out into its own actions.js. I like to usually put this in its own like mutators.js or something, and this would have its own store.js, and the index would only run like this stuff. Yep, and that's it. Really, just these, because like these are examples, right?
What do we have to store to?
Yeah, like I would pull in store. So the index would have like, okay, import store from store.js, import, like, yeah, dispatch, import, like mutators, all that. And all you do is just calling it up.
We're gonna see the full build Sunday
Probably starting again, just to make sure everyone like remembers that.
in separate files or.
Yeah, in separate files. It makes it reusable. Uni like directional is a good thing, and so on and so forth. All right, go home. Sunday. Oh, for sure.
Flex is not like the way you have that Babel, super simple Babel, like I could just use that.
Well, no, the build is two different things, right? Like all the Babel does is just concatenates files, right?
Yeah, but like the way you had it set up very simply, like so this I would have to make my.
Oh, you're saying is there a boilerplate? No, there's no boilerplate.
So this isn't a concept. This is a concept.
This is a concept. This is
Yeah.
just a strategy. This is a strategy. That's it. What's up?
Oh, why do people
Oh, compiling. Well, in JavaScript you don't compile. Compiling is when you take a statically typed language like Java,
What does that mean?
and what you do is you turn it into machine code, so that the machine can read it. JavaScript runs but
Send that to me.
because of the limitation of JavaScript, you can press files or you take a bunch of files, you can concatenate That's that.
After we bought pizza for you and shit. You know how much I paid for that shit?
Yeah, or PHP. Those are all very simple where like, they don't care about types. You just write code and run on the code. What about Java? Java is strong with like. So what that means, yeah, float, long, double long, string, character, and then that's a whole other thing, right? But yeah. So and then like we do C or C++. Same idea. What? I don't need it. I mean, I know them, but that's because I worked on projects where like those robots. And like you do something like that, like, probably need it. I think like it's good to learn.
Couch, you got a new couch?
But for your purposes right now, you definitely don't.
That's what I'm saying.
I know. More practice. Just keep building stuff and build crazy shit like the Alexa app and all that stuff.
Yes.
$100 fee.
I'll put it first.
It's actually crazy. I be using a framework like I was